Warrior Lore. Chapter 742, Loyal and Righteous Clan. Chapter 742, Loyal and Righteous Clan. Proofreader, Papatonks. Stop those damn brats from getting to the treasury. Under Luo Yunhai's leadership, Flying Tiger Army and Demon Scheming Sect's disciples quickly got away from Ethereal Stage Experts fights and charged straight for Mystical Heaven Sect's critical areas. Sect leader Qilin wasn't the only one able to see their plan. Many other elders were concerned about this as well. At the shout of one man, many others got away from their opponents and went after Luo Yunhai. A great pressure was instantly upon them from behind, and even though most were blocked by Demon Scheming Sect elders, there were still 6 that got through under those mighty auras. Luo Yunhai frowned, his scalp tingling. They were all mere radiant stage and profound heaven disciples. Going against an ethereal stage expert was suicide. Even with thousands of people on his side, it would still end up with their cruel demise. They had no way of stopping those ethereal stage expert souls with their puny divine sense. They would be mowed down like grass. Whoosh. Suddenly, 2 very familiar figures appeared next to Luo Yunhai, Yuer and Qilin. Looking tensely at him, Qilin hurried, "Luo clan head, what do we do? Master told us to listen to your every order." "Your brothers was disciples? He actually took disciples?" He always refused when asked. Even Elder Yin was only imparted skill and never taken as a disciple. "You." Luo Yunhai shook from the shock, then nodded. "I see. No wonder Brother Zhua picked you two to come here among the thousands of disciples of the Demon Scheming Sect. You're on our side." Qilin nodded. "Yes, Master said we always listen to him, and while Demon Scheming Sect disciples will obey an outsider's order, that won't go on for long. So he let us two be the middlemen. In any case, we're also Demon Scheming Sect disciples. They trust us more. If you have any orders, tell us and we'll make sure these disciples will follow your lead. Then take all of them and attack the treasury." Luo Yunhai shouted, then flew behind startled. Qilin quickly grabbed Luo Yunhai, who wanted to leave. "Wait, what are you doing? We're attacking the treasury, but what about you?" "I'm going to stop the ethereal stage experts on our backs and buy you time." Luo Yunhai flew again. The two were stunned. Qilin held much tighter now as he grew nervous. "You're looking to die? They're ethereal stage experts. No matter how many people you have, they'll end up dead. All of them. And I am a soldier at heart. A soldier does not fear death on the battlefield. In any case, this way we'll reach our goal." Luo Yunhai grinned. Qilin was stumped, then gnashed his teeth. "Master had us obey your orders. You're the commander here. How can we let you be in danger? I'll go. Demon Scheming Sect disciples, listen up." "Pa." However, he didn't finish as Luo Yunhai grabbed his shoulder. "Since your brother's was disciple, with the Luo clan here, how can I let you face danger? Moreover, Brother Zhua told me that in this war you must be safe. Later, he'll be giving you a great surprise." "But you," Qiling's eyes shook. Luo Yunhai waved his hand. "This is the way of the Luo clan, of righteousness and loyalty, a teaching passed down through generations. As the clan head, I have to uphold it. Brother Zhua did so much for us, so I won't ever let his disciples be at risk. Moreover, you said it yourself. Your master told you to obey my orders. Then listen to my command." Luo Yunhai flicked his sleeve and got away from them, flying behind to welcome the 6 ethereal stage experts. "Flying Tiger Army, with me. Focus your divine sense, breaking formation." "Yes." The Flying Tiger Army converged and charged at the enemy with Luo Yunhai. They all knew what awaited them, but life meant nothing before a soldier's duty to obey. This was the Luo clan style. Combined with the original Luo clan's literary reputation of being righteous and loyal, Zhua Fan's bold and fearless nature, as well as Dugu Army's inviolable orders, it became just like an impressive army. Seeing this fearless and brave army, Qilin and Yuer were stunned. Then they sighed. No wonder Master always wanted to go back. This clan cares so much for him. For our lives, as mere Master's disciples, this clan head is willing to pay with his. This is crazy, idiocy, or is it true righteousness? Ha ha ha. I never imagined a demonic cultivator like Master's home would be the most righteous clan. Qilin sighed. But this righteous clan is not as loathsome as the other righteous sections. Yuer, let's go Kuei Gang wanted to take Yuer to attack the treasury, but he found that she just stared at Luo Yunhai. Still Yuer's eyes grew hazy. Kuei Gang, you listen to Luo clan head. I have another task. Yunhai shot for Luo Yunhai at full speed, leaving Kuei Gang stumped. He gnashed his teeth and shouted, demon-scheming sect disciples, follow me to raid their treasury. Don't squander Luo clan head's sacrifice. Yes. With a roar, the disciples looked at Luo Yunhai, touched by his actions. Before going on to do their part behind them, Luo Yunhai took the 100,000 Flying Tiger Army to pose as a shield for their backs. They had no chance in stopping the ethereal stage experts, but their dauntless aura gave a feeling of security. No wonder Steward Zhua came from the Luo clan. All of them are amazing. Whoosh. The 6 ethereal stage experts were now upon the army. Luo Yunhai shouted, charge. The Flying Tiger Army obeyed without question. Ignorant fools. Radiant stage and profound heaven cultivators dare block our way? They sneered and mocked Luo Yunhai and the Flying Tiger Army. The elder with the long beard flicked his hand, and a lightning arrow 100 meters long shot like lightning for them. Soul variant, heaven-breaking arrow. A huge pressure, one bearing death, descended upon the army. They found it hard to breathe, their mind in pain. Yet not even this could stop Luo Yunhai as he shouted, focus all your divine sense before us. We're 100,000 men. Yes. The men shouted once more, and with a strong wind, the divine sense gathered as it stuck together into a wall before the incoming arrow. The divine sense just kept getting stronger and stronger, however. The bearded old man mocked. What can the divine sense of radiant stage cultivators do? It's no match for an ethereal stage expert's condensed soul. Quantity can't beat quality. Humph, a bunch of rats are looking to die, so have at it. The other 5 ethereal stage experts laughed loudly, not in a hurry to join, and instead enjoyed seeing these ants getting squashed. Whoosh. With a thunderclap, the lightning arrow struck the divine sense wall hard. It breached it without delay and went for the army unimpeded. The men all spewed blood, feeling their heads splitting apart from the pain. The few profound heaven cultivators in the Flying Tiger Army had it worse. Their eyes lost their light and died on the spot, leaving their empty shells of a hard body to fall to the ground. Next came the fall of 1,000 bodies as they died from the attack. Luo Yunhai was in pain with every thump. The Flying Tiger Army was made of war puppets, Xuan refined, and would not even be called humans, having only a divine sense. But these people were Luo clan's guards. Brothers Luo Yunhai had spent years by their side. He saw them as family, watching so many fall to their deaths tore Luo Yunhai apart. But he bore through the pain and held on. This was the Luo clan's military style. Remembering the martyrs was done after the war. Now they had one mission, to charge. The brutal lightning arrow had not slowed at all, as if to prove to Luo Yunhai and his men that all their efforts were for naught. A fool's errand, the ethereal stage experts sneered, but then their smiles fell. Luo Yunhai and the Flying Tiger Army wore the same hard faces as they faced this deadly adversity. It was as if they did not know the meaning of weakness. Even the 6 ethereal stage experts began to show admiration. How long has it been since they last saw such determination? But you still have to die. The bearded elder's eyes flashed with bloodthirst and sent the lightning arrow flying even faster with a flick of the wrist. It was in front of Luo Yunhai in a blink. The burning lightning was so powerful he felt pain before it struck. Chapter 743, Different Path. Chapter 743, Different Path. Proofreader, Papatonks. Damn it, it's faster than predicted. Luo Yunhai squinted at the incoming lightning arrow and gnashed his teeth as he shouted, even if I die, you are to hold them back down to the last man. Yes, sir. The Flying Tiger Army roared in unison. The 6 ethereal stage experts' hearts shook at their devotion. Touched by their devotion, they were amazed there were people in this world with such commitment, facing death regardless of what happened to them, all to complete their mission. Thank God they're only in the radiant stage and profound heaven stage and can't harm us. Letting them grow would bring about a calamity. Such dreadful power made them wonder just where they came from. The demon-scheming sect had no way of having such loyal disciples. That was for sure. The 5 ethereal stage experts were puzzled inside, but most of all, they were afraid. While the bearded elder was more determined than ever to end them, they all must die. Crack! The lightning arrow crackled as it ripped through the air, ready to annihilate the entire flying tiger army. Luo Yunhai clenched his teeth with a frown. His biggest worry was not his death, but that he bought enough time for Kuei Gang's team to complete their raid. Luo clan head, focus all of your men's divine sense on me. A soft voice echoed, that of a girl in white as she landed before them. She parted her red lips and spat out an azure flaming bead. Luo Yunhai's eyes widened on seeing Zhua Fan's disciple. Yuer, flying tiger army, focus all your divine sense on this lady. Who? In an instant, the huge wall of divine sense that everyone formed was now flooding Yuer's body, the soldiers acting without an ounce of hesitation. Shaking, Yuer was shocked as the power flooded her. It was even too much to handle as she had to cough up blood. She never imagined Luo clansmen would be so quick and direct. They gave her everything without the slightest hesitation. They were not even familiar. Even if they were on the same side, not hesitating to give her everything while risking their lives was never seen anywhere. Yet now, the Luo clan's army did it just like that. Smiling, Yuer's heart turned soft. She grew up in the demon-scheming sect, where everyone was out to get everyone. The only one she could trust was her sister. Now that she was being trusted by strangers moved her, almost forgetting her plan. Soon, though, she came to and used all that power to focus on the azure flame bead. The bead shone brightly, and the azure flame roared stronger and stronger, into a firewall that safeguarded everyone just in time to welcome the lightning boom. The fierce explosion resulting from the impact caused a violent firestorm while the lightning arrow's power passed the firewall and struck Yuer. She cried out and spat blood as she was flung in the air. The lightning arrow was, in the end, also affected by the azure flame. Shuddering and turning black, the bearded elder felt pain shoot through his mind, threatening to split his head open. As for the lightning arrow, it was slowly coming back to him. The azure flame bead fell to the ground as it used up all its power. The azure flame on it turned into a mote, threatened to be extinguished. 100,000 divine senses were focused, and through the azure flame, they stopped an ethereal stage expert soul's attack. It only worked to prove the disparity in strength between radiant stage and ethereal stage. Luo Yunhai rushed to Yuer. Seeing her white as paper, he was worried. Miss, how are you? Why did you come? I thought I told you to go with the demon-scheming sect disciples and take their treasury. Yuer took a deep breath and looked at him through half-lidded eyes. Why did you give me all your divine sense without hesitation? If I didn't block it, you'd be all dead. What's the point of saying that now? Your brother Zhua's disciple. You're one of us. Since you came and decided to take that soul attack, no matter if it worked or not, we must show our trust by giving you all our strength. Luo Yunhai spoke naturally, then he looked at the bead. Reality proved you did block it. Staring hard at him, Yunhai chuckled. I planned on blocking twice, but you guys just had to give me all of your divine sense and forced me to be injured from the overflow, wasting some of it. Now I only blocked once. What? Startled, Luo Yunhai made a weird face. You mean to tell me it's my fault? You should have said how much divine sense you needed. Yuer shook her head. It's the first time we met. It's even while we're at death's door. How should I know you would give your life in some stranger's hands without hesitation? I said I wanted all your divine sense, expecting to get a mere third at the most. If I said half, I might have gotten a tenth. But who knew you'd be so trusting? Luo Yunhai shook and gave her a long look. Despite looking downcast, he saw an odd sense of glee on her. He knew why and sigh. I see, you don't trust anyone. But rest assured, we, Luo clan, completely trust our allies. Luo Yunhai stood up and once again faced the 5 ethereal stage experts with his army. Miss, thank you for your help, but you're hurt now and can't take another strike. You'd best leave from here. We will stop them down to the last man. Yuer looked at him and struggled to stand. Walking next to him, Master gave us a mission. No matter what happens, you must live. I will protect you till my last breath. She flicked her hand, and the azure flame bead landed in her palm. Yuer stepped up before Luo Yunhai and the bead once again was ignited, ignoring her frail body and the blood flowing from her mouth. Yuan shouted, "Give me all of your divine sense. I can take another one." Luo Yunhai's eyes shook, and he held out his hand. "Give me the bead. You can barely stand." "No, it's my mission." Yuan turned her head around Luo Yunhai's side, then turned serious. "I'll be ashamed to face Brother Xuan after this, but I must tell you. For Brother Xuan, the end justifies the means. He only cares about his goals. To him, my life is so much more precious than anyone else here, even more than his own disciple. All are worthy sacrifices. That's why you don't have." "Why did you tell me then?" Yunhai raised an eyebrow. "It's your honor for Master to sacrifice everyone for your life." Luo Yunhai shook his head. "Brother Xuan is just protecting me, but I don't want to do this. I don't want to live when others die. I know that Brother Xuan raised the Luo clan by himself, but he didn't force me to walk his path. That is why, as the Luo clan head, I hope to bear the lives of all my clansmen and not have them shielding me. I want true righteousness and loyalty, the path of kingship. So you don't have to admire. Then don't say it." Yuan smiled, her eyes flashing. "You want to protect everyone, but you can't stop others from protecting you. It no longer has anything to do with the mission." Luo Yunhai shook as he looked at Yuan. I'll use the bead Master gave me to block again. No matter how it ends, with your life or death, I will do all I can." Smiling, Yuan said, "And this is my will, as thanks for your trust." Yuan showed a rare bright smile. Luo Yunhai cupped his hands. The bearded elder, wounded by the azure flame, finally recovered and spat, "Curse you! Mere ants dared to harm my soul? I'll make mincemeat out of you." "Hey, Elder Su, you can't even handle a few radiant stage cultivators yet still act tough?" One mocked. "Why not let me handle the brats for you? Lest you want to get hurt again and make you look bad, huh?" The person flicked his hand, and a sharp long sword hovered in the air. Its might bore down harder than the lightning arrow. The army's heads started hurting even before it struck Luo Yunhai, and Yuan were shocked, their faces sinking. Yuan held the azure flame bead tight in her shaking hand. Not even the azure flame bead can stop such power. Chapter 744. Heaven, Earth, Fire, Water, Madness. Chapter 744. Heaven, Earth, Fire, Water, Madness. Proofreader, Papatonks. Nation-crushing sword. With a flash of contempt in his eyes, the person flicked his hand and the long sword fell from the heavens above. The powerful pressure slapped into the soldiers, halting their breaths. In addition to the pressure, the sharp sword also had a piercing soul power that caused their head to hurt as it burrowed into their minds. Luo Yunhai's expression turned heavy, and he looked at the shaking Yuan in front of him. He came next to her and snatched the azure flame bead, then shouted, "Soldiers, give me all your divine sense." "Yes." Flying Tiger Army shouted in response as everyone powered their power like a tornado into Luo Yunhai. Luo Yunhai shivered, almost unable to take it all as blood seeped from his mouth. But he didn't care. Focusing all the power into the bead, the azure flame once again exploded. Releasing a large fire snake, Yuan cried out, "What are you doing? Give it back now." "Ha ha ha, it's too late." Luo Yunhai chuckled. "Miss, I now control the bead and only I can maintain its power. If you take it, then the defense will fail and I'll suffer its backlash, dropping dead. Your brother's was disciple, so I don't think you're going to make such a rash decision." Yuer's heart tightened, giving up soon after. She should have been the one defending him, but now. Luo Yunhai chuckled. "Miss, hurry up and leave. If I die, then just tell Brother Xuan it has nothing to do with you. There is no way I can hide behind a woman's skirt in the face of danger. I am the Luo clan head." Luo Yunhai shouted and focused all his energy. The azure flame on the bead went crazy as it flooded out of it. The Flying Tiger Army was also standing at the ready to face their enemy. Yuan was stunned, and then added her own soul power to Luo Yunhai. "Miss," Luo Yunhai started, "with your wounds, how can you do such a thing? Just leave this place while you can." Yuan frowned as she turned stubborn. "Master gave me that bead and there's no way I'm leaving here without it. We'll stop the soul attack, then you'll return it." Luo Yunhai looked at her deeply, then shook his head with a sigh. "Cocky much?" You actually want to stop my dipper sword soul? The person snickered at them. I'm unlike that Elder Su, in the third layer, nor is my soul weaker. You have no chance of blocking it with your cultivation. The person shouted, and the sword soul increased its plunge. The heavy pressure increased even more, making the earth crack under their feet and kicking up a cloud of dust. The azure flames were shaking before it struck, about to crumble at any second and making Luo Yunhai and the army cough blood. The azure flame snake was also weaker. The person had a sadistic smile as he watched them suffer. His power was far stronger than the previous one. They may be 100,000, but it was not enough to even take one of his attacks. They were going to perish. Without a doubt, shaking his head, Luo Yunhai turned to Yuer. Miss, it seems you lost your chance to leave. We shall die together. Is dying alongside me not fitting for clan head? Yuer cocked an eyebrow. Luo Yunhai chuckled. No, this may be the only upside in our demise. Yuer grinned and closed her eyes as she waited for the sword to drop. The terrible pressure had sapped most of the azure flame's power. The glinting sword edge came closer and closer, ready to crush this 100,000 army. Yuling cried out, wanting to help, but she still had an opponent to deal first. All she could do was watch her baby sister die. The other demon-scheming sect experts were tangled in their own battles and could not give aid either. The disaster seemed imminent. Xuan, who fought sect leader Qian, had no intention of helping either. Though he could do it in an instant, he did not. He wanted to see after all these years if the elders and venerables he arranged would jump to the rescue. If they proved unable, he would give them a thorough lesson back home. If they proved unwilling, a house cleanup is in order. Luo clan head, did you know? I've always been someone's burden, unable to die even when I wanted to. Then I met Master and my life finally changed. Though there hasn't been much to change my mind. But now, I want to live on, just when I'm about to die. Yuer no longer looked at the sword and closed her eyes as she felt death creeping in. Is it karma or providence? Luo Yunhai gave her a deep look and held her hand. Death may come at any time. All that matters is that you make it worth it. Though now, in the face of death, I don't think it's that bad. Yuer giggled, no longer afraid of what was to come. Face twitching, the elder of the sword soul was annoyed. For God's sake, if there's one thing I hate most, it's seeing couples getting all lovey-dovey before death. Stop ignoring me. He made a sign and the sword soul sped up, its sharpness making their heads hurt. Their time of death was swiftly approaching, however. A burning light flashed and a scorching ball of fire appeared before the two, striking the heavy sword soul. Boom. The longsword and the fireball separated, but their power swept the area, making the weaker ethereal stage experts falter back. Whoosh. The longsword returned to the person's side and caused him to shiver as blood spilled from his mouth. He stared back in anger. Hi. It seems to me the Luo clan got itself a madam. That's a cause for celebration. Ha. An elegant figure in white floated down before the army. Luo Yunhai was overjoyed. Sister Xue. Xue Qingjian looked rather pale at this moment, her breathing ragged. Yet she still put on a smile. Xiao Yunhai coughed, wiping the blood, and walked next to her. Clan head, we came to help Steward Xue. So could you possibly keep your mind on track? Old Xiao, that's my line. A mocking voice came from the side. Li Jingtian. In the Luo clan, you're one of the few couples back home. True. Indeed. On the other side were heaven and earth sages, expressing their approval of Li Jingtian's words. Seeing everyone here, Luo Yunhai was overjoyed. Yuer was stunned. She knew ethereal stage battles were savage, so how did they finish their fights so fast? But looking at them closer, they could see blood. Luo Yunhai's brow shook. Elderly, how could you? Looking at the blood on him, Li Jingtian chuckled. It's nothing. This is just the price for cutting the fighting short. What? Luo Yunhai looked at the 5 of them and saw each bearing a wound, some even a dozen, but they did not care. This made him tear up. He knew they risked their own lives by foregoing their battles to save him. This great favor filled him with gratitude. Xuan grinned. Heaven, earth, water, fire, and madness. The 5 high venerables he got for the Luo clan didn't let him down. Chapter 745. Strongest 5 Elders. Chapter 745. strongest 5 elders. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. 24 more ethereal stage experts showed up on the 6th side. They were now 30 ethereal stage experts. 8 were in the 6th layer, 10 in the 5th, and the rest were in the 4th and 3rd layer. While on Luo Yunhai's side, only Li Jingtian and the sages were in the 6th. With the power couple in the 5th, the Luo clan was at a clear disadvantage. Mystical Heaven Sect's 30 ethereal stage experts had them surrounded with a look of scorn. Where's the fire? Ha ha ha, you ran all the way over here, just to save some radiant stage and profound heaven cultivators? Now you're in an even worse state, with them as your shackles that seal your fate. An elder with a large mustache laughed. The 5 did not care. Li Jingtian turned to Luo Yunhai, clan head. Take Flying Tiger Army away. We'll stop them from coming after you. 5 stopping 30? Yuer cried. No way. They have experts stronger than you. Qiu Yunhai mocked. Lass, don't lump us with your rowdy demon scheming sect elders. Our words to clan head are just like in the military. We do what we say. We won't let one of them slip past us, or my head is on the line. Yuer looked at him hard. Are the Luo clan's rules that strict? 5 holding back 30 was pushing it beyond their limits. It was simply 1 to 6, and now they add another harsher condition, to not let anyone slip by. Luo Yunhai nodded heavily. Then I'll leave it to venerables. We'll go join the demon scheming sect at the treasury. Luo Yunhai pulled Yuer's soft hand and flew away. Flying Tiger Army, with me? Yes, sir. The soldiers shouted and converged. Following Luo Yunhai outside of ethereal stage experts' range, Yuer was frantic, watching the 5 in worry. Why, you truly believe they can fight 1-on-6? Haha, don't worry. They are the strongest force brothers left for the Luo clan. They're Luo clan guardians, keeping their word. If they said it's all right, then it's all in their hands. Luo Yunhai kept pulling Yuer's hand as he flew away. Li Jingtian chuckled. Then his eyes turned savage. With clan head safe, we can let loose. Humph, show off. So you're telling me you couldn't go all out before? One ethereal stage expert mocked. Did you forget who gave you that fresh wound? Qiu Yunhai sneered. We got hurt on purpose. How else were we supposed to save clan head? That was your only shot at harming us. Indeed. An elder with white hair stepped out. His dreadful aura made him the strongest. You 5 do stand out of the crowd, stronger than the common ethereal stage experts. But you forget, you were in a deadlock before you saved the juniors, and couldn't get any advantage either. And now, you are much more tired than us. You'll be fighting 1 against 5. You're finished. The 5 just cracked up. Why are you laughing? Aren't I right? The old man asked. Li Jingtian nodded. Ha ha ha, right, you're totally right. Though, that was when we fought alone. The elder had a sinking feeling, who knew the day would come for old coots like us that would need us to work together. Ha ha. Qiu Yunhai chuckled and said, in any case, we're also fighting for Steward this time around, who showed us so much favor all this time. We best not drag our behinds any longer or clan head might actually suffer and we'll be worse off. The other 4 grinned. Sure. Heaven and Earth sages made a sign, and 1 black and 1 white glow each shot from them. The 2 used this shining light to vanish. When the light dispersed, the scenery around the 30 enemies changed. There was no more clamor of the fights from other people, just a world in shades of gray shit. This is a domain soul. We have to get out of here before we fall victim any further. One elder shouted. The others took out their souls, a glittering display of swords, spears, axes, and other weapons. It won't change anything. The 2 had a domain soul, but we will smash it with 30 souls attacking it at once. The others shouted as well, but when they took out their souls to attack, the world shifted. Black and white kept changing and turning their power into nothing. Even their soul power was being consumed. Outside the domain, the sages stood before the black and white ball as it spun around. Ha ha ha. Our domain is the yin-yang reversal. Your strength will be sapped from the constant change, given back to the world, until you have nothing left and your soul crumbles. You've got no chance in forcing your way out. The elders startled and thought of another way. Don't waste your energy, or the domain will take it. Gather your soul power together and breach the domain. We're 30 ethereal stage experts. It can't dissipate so much power all at once. Ha ha, Right you are. Yin-yang reversal has the yin and yang characteristics. No matter how many people are inside, their power will be taken away if acting alone. But together, you can get out. Heaven Sage mocked, turning to Li Jingtian. They're about to join hands and won't be able to hold it. You should fight as well. Ha ha, well said. Li Jingtian's black aura surged and roared. A black dragon took to the skies and shot into the black and height ball. Soul variant. Necro Dragon Chain Claw. Roar. As the soul power of all inside the domain gathered, a draconic roar entered their ears before they could figure out what was happening. Black claws fell from above like spears. They carried a sinister power as they pelted their souls and forced them to scatter. Everyone coughed blood and grew pale. The weaker ones took it harder. Their souls gone from this world, the other cried out in fear. They never thought a large-scale attack would hold so much power in each strike in a blink. The 30 ethereal stage experts were reduced to around half. What they didn't know was while they were scared inside the dual ball, Li Jingtian was spin outside, gasping, "It's not easy taking on so many. Old Xiao, I leave the rest to you too." TCH, of course you'd be exhausted taking out half. Xiao Yinhai grinned, "Oldly, you're just showing off. Wasn't there 5 of us? It should be 1 to 6. Fine, then don't join and leave the rest to the sages." Elderly rolled his eyes now, though. Xiao Yinhai's face fell. "No way. Since you got half, how can I fall short?" Xiao Yinhai turned to Xue Qingjian with desire. About to spew fire, Xue Qingjian shook her head and giggled. She rolled her eyes. "Looks who's showing off now." The two made their signs as one hot and one cold soul came out and made contact. In a blink, they became a scorching and bright light as it shot for the domain. Yin-yang convergence. World annihilation. Chapter 746. Winning with fewer numbers. Chapter 746. Winning with fewer numbers. Proofreader. Papatonks. Who? A fierce gale blew over, even as the remaining experts in the domain shivered in fear. They thought they'd see the claws again, but this time, what welcomed them was a blinding light. Its heat was burning them even before it reached them as it turned everything in its wake to cinder. This astonishing power had shaken their hearts with dread. One elder warned, "Be careful and don't get near it." "Thank you for stating the obvious, but how are we supposed to keep our distance?" They all looked for a place to flee, but then someone looked on in fear. "Why is it becoming bigger?" "Fool, it's not becoming bigger. It's the domain shrinking. We got nowhere to dodge." The people looked around in panic as the white scorching light closed in and only exacerbated their fears. Ack! One could no longer escape and got too close to the light, disintegrating on the spot. Starting with the hand, the others watched in shock as he was slowly erased from existence. Yet none came to help. They knew they would be next. "Use your souls." At the shout, their eyes lit with hope. Yet none liked to be the first to test that theory, so without a choice, the one who shouted used his soul first to strike the light. Bam! However, the soul melted on contact with the light, vanishing as well. The people's eyes bugged out, no one wanting to risk it anymore, so the light closed in more and more, unaffected by the soul attack it took just now. Its scorching heat was taking one soul at a time. Cries sounded that filled the rest with even more dread. Finally, only 4 remained. In the 5th and 6th layer, watching the light as they prepared to die. Curses, if I'm going to die, I'm going to make you pay. Soul explosion. One elder with bloodshot eyes roared. The scarlet longsword shot for the white light, scattering in an explosion after making contact. The old man's soul was gone and his body slumped to the ground, but the white light shook now, with Qiao Yinhai and Xue Qingjian frowning outside the domain, with blood leaking from their mouths. But to intimidate the remaining 3, they held on, covering up the weakness of the light. Watching the light coming after them still, the 3 were deathly pale. With their souls unable to do anything to it, they were out of options. They gnashed their teeth and spat. "Since we're going to die, we'll go out with a bang." Someone had his soul explode against the light. Then the second. Qiao Yinhai and Xue Qingjian kept spurting blood now that only one elder remained. He clenched his teeth, ready to die as well. But then the light puffed out. The elder looked dumbly, then knew what happened. Regret took him. The white light feared soul explosion. If they used it from the start, then many would have survived. But everyone only thought about themselves, and none wanted to sacrifice their lives for another until they had no chance but to go down fighting. When it was too late, the elder shook his head and sighed. Now what could he do alone? Outside the domain, the white light faded and turned into cold and hot lights as they returned to the power couple. The two spat more blood. That's it. We can't take it anymore. Those guys are insane, going for suicide. We can't hold on much longer either. This domain is made of our souls. With so many explosions, we've been injured as well. Blood leaked from the sages' mouths and looked within. There's just one guy left. Let him out and just beat him up. Agreed. The others nodded and the sages undid their domain. The elder saw the light of day once more. But now he was the picture of solitude. Everyone on the battlefield looked over and saw how 30 got trapped and now only one survived. The shock was palpable, but the lone survivor had no time to even stand straight as the 5 were on him in a blink. Boom. Fire, water, savagery, yin and yang, all came down on his head like heaven's wrath. In moments, the old guy did not even have the chance to take a breath of fresh air before he was put down, his body gone. Every onlooker stood there dumbfounded. Who are they to be so strong, killing 30 by themselves? The mystical heaven sect was stunned. The demon scheming sect was looking dumbly, and even Xuan flinched. Then he nodded. These 5 sure are strong. I didn't waste all that effort after all. Not even he thought they would make such an effective team. Yuan kept looking back and now was stumped as well. He stammered at Luo Yunhai. Ha ha ha, Brother Xue taught 3 of them himself, while the other 2 merely gave them hints. That's why they became our first generation of venerables. Luo Yunhai chuckled. They are stubborn and prideful people, always acting alone, but they actually joined hands this time. Yuan sighed. They're all freaks. Like master, like disciple. They never became brothers was true disciples. Who's to say what his disciples would become later on? Maybe even stronger. Ha ha ha. Calling them freaks is a bit premature. Luo Yunhai chuckled. Yuan's face grew hard. But master doesn't seem to care much about us. He also said that he only got into the demon scheming sect because of the sect leader's deal. Oh, acting cool. Let me tell you what I know from my time with Brother Xue. He does care about you. Ha ha. Luo Yunhai chuckled. Yuan gave him a long look and smiled. Kill. In front of them, someone started shouting. They saw Kuei Gang's team fighting mystical heaven sect disciples. They all had around the same cultivation, making the fighting bitter and harsh. Luo Yunhai shouted, Flying Tiger Army, wing formation. Charge. Yes, sir. The soldiers followed Luo Yunhai's lead into battle. They were like wolves among sheep. One side had 40,000 men, the other 100,000 war puppets. One side was made of secluded disciples, while the others were veterans of war. Despite the similar cultivation, the outcome was obvious. Luo Yunhai's Flying Tiger Army turned the previous deadlock into a win. Flying Tiger Army was like a cleaver, cutting its way through mystical heaven sect disciples, leaving Kuei Gang's side stumped. Fricking hell, master. How are master's clansmen so strong? They're at the same level as us, but so much better in group battles. That's what it means to be in the military. Kuei Gang directed the demon scheming sect disciples to attack as well, and the mystical heaven sect disciples had no way of stopping such brutal assaults. Soon, they arrived before the treasury, but the gates were closed tight. We're here. Luo Yunhai lit up and ordered, attack the treasury and cut off their supplies. Roar. The men shouted, even the demon scheming sect disciples, all excited about burning it to the ground. However, in a yellow flash, an immense power swept them and spread blood and gore in every direction. 10,000 died just like that, with thousands being from the tough Flying Tiger Army. An aged voice sounded, who dares come to my treasury? Chapter 747, Heaven's Cycle Elders. Chapter 747, Heaven's Cycle Elders. Proofreader, Papatonks. Sharp winds blew as 4 old guys came out of nowhere. Their backs crooked, their eyes lidded, and sitting cross-legged before everyone. The powerful auras coming off them made the army not dare take a step closer. Luo Yunhai frowned, his heart tense as he clenched his fists. He never imagined the number of demon-scheming sect elders Xuan brought at the main hall would not make all the experts of this sect converge there. At least these four had stayed behind, and from their vibes, they were in the ethereal stage. Yunhai was now pensive, unsure how to proceed. Li Jingtian's team looked from afar at the four and cried out, "Damn it, those are." The five shot for Luo Yunhai's side. Growing serious, Luo Yunhai did not know the four's power, since he was not at their stage to even feel it. But Li Jingtian found they were actually in the 9th layer of ethereal stage, just shy of reaching soul harmony stage for these kind of experts to show up, and four of them, not even them, as ethereal stage experts in their rights, could beat them. There was no way their weak clan head could even touch them. Li Jingtian's team of 5 rushed over at top speed, afraid their clan head would die the next second. Xuan looked over and was worried for the first time. Yet he did not have the chance to interfere. The long spear was coming for him once more with little choice in the matter. Xuan continued, directing Almighty Scarlet Dragon King to flick its tail, sending it away. He turned around to go there, but he saw Sect leader Xian's sinister smile. "Humph, Xuan, if you had just escaped. With so many people showing the way, I had no way of stopping you. But you just had to be so greedy and started fighting. Now our 4 high venerables came out, leaving you no chance of escape." "Ha ha ha," Sect leader Xian cackled. Xuan gave the 4 old guys a long look. 4 ethereal stage experts in the 9th layer sure are amazing, but only a smidgen better than Sect leader's 8th layer cultivation. And you think they'll turn the battle around? Think again. "Ha ha, a smidgen you say? Xuan, then you don't know much about Western lands, do you? You have no idea of my sect's power." Sect leader Xian smirked, pointing at the 4 as he mocked. "Then feast your eyes on their power. Ha ha ha." Xuan looked harder than his brow shook. The 4 old guys still had their eyes closed. Sitting there in midair, they sat in a 3-meter circle spinning around. Each elder released a special glow: red, green, white, golden. As the 4 lights merged following a certain pace, it turned into a blinding earthen light following the roar of a dragon. An earthen-colored dragon flew around the 4 of them. The ground constantly shook, feeling like the rapids on a stormy sea. The radiant stage and profound heaven cultivators couldn't even sit straight. As the earthen glow shone, they felt their innards shake and started puking blood. Many of them had their eyes roll into their skull and dropped dead in a mere blink. Thousands died. Yet the 4 old guys didn't look like they moved at all, just sitting there as they moved in circle with eyes closed. Luo Yunhai cried out, "Get in the air and away from those 4. Don't let their waves strike you." No one was a fool here and rushed into the air and away from the yellow curtain of light. "Ha ha ha. Why would us 4 care about bugs like you lot?" as they scurry away. "But this time you dared to invade mystical heaven sect and came for the treasury. As the highest venerables in the sect, the 4 of us can't ignore this transgression." One elder smiled, making all of the 4 old guys change their signs they made. They finally moved, or more precise, their circle moved even though they never cracked an eyelid. Spinning around in a circle, the invisible circle formed felt more like a wide disk. It whooshed over the crowd, and the yellow dragon looming overhead spun with them. But the powerful force made by the constant spinning slammed into everyone in its path. No one had time to react as blood and gore flew every which way. The spinning yellow disc just went right through a group and mowed down thousands of people, reducing them to a bloody pulp. The disc made a return trip and thousands more received the same gruesome death. In just one move, 10,000 people lay dead. Everyone was too shocked to react. Filled with fear as they watched the yellow disc, Luo Yunhai was also overwhelmed. Seeing the disc so deadly, as it reaped through his men's lives, his heart was panicking. By the time he reacted, 30,000 men were gone from this world. He shouted, "Break formation! Everyone flee! We can't beat them! Save yourselves!" He gave the Flying Tiger Army a signal, and everyone scattered. "Oh, the commander survived." One old man smiled, sending the disc straight for Luo Yunhai. This time Luo Yunhai rushed to flee. Yuer and Kuei wanted to dodge, but had no way of reacting to ethereal stage expert speeds. In a blink, the disc was upon them. Feeling that raw fear its power sent, Kuei shook his head. "My poor life is now over. Just why did Master have to attack Mystical Heaven Sect? Is it really just to teach them a lesson? It looks to me that we're the one on the receiving end." Luo Yunhai did not speak, but his eyes were firm. Even he didn't know why Xuan wanted to do this. but since he planned for it, he would see it through to the end. This was the unflinching trust the Luo clan had for him even now. With death looming overhead, he still had no regrets. Whoosh. Suddenly, a familiar figure blocked Luo Yunhai's sight. It was no other than Yuer. Miss, it's not use. It's not like before. Being in front or back won't make a difference. Yuer said nothing, just stood there unrelenting. Luo Yunhai decided to stand by her. Why not? Stand together. That way, maybe Brothers' other disciple might be able to come out alive behind us. I'm Kuei Gang. Kuei Gang rolled his eyes and stood next to them. Before we die, you should at least know my name. Master was too busy and had no time to make the introductions before. Dying without even knowing my name is such a miserable fate. Then I'm Luo Yunhai, the Luo clan head. Luo Yunhai laughed. Yuer smiled. Yuer, demon scheming sect disciple. Haha, young lads, so close even before death. No wonder you're so amazing leading these kids. The elders from the circle overheard them and laughed. But that still won't mean you're going to live. It's your fault for not being our disciples. Ha ha ha. Whoosh. The strong disc flew at them, just an inch from turning them into a bloody smear on the ground. The trio closed their eyes, ready to meet their doom. However, the three found that nothing happened to them even after a while. While the strong power was suddenly gone from their front, when they opened their eyes, they saw a white and black ball spinning in front. Not far from them, the sages had their hands locked in a sign and looking tense. Yin-yang reversal. In this critical moment, the heaven and earth twin sages intervened, using their domain soul to isolate the area around the four old guys. However, this action had made the two suffer for it. Chapter 748, Four Earth Dragons. Chapter 748, Four Earth Dragons. Proofreader, Papatonks. Elders, thank you. Luo Yunhai's eyes shone and laughed. He cupped his hands, but the sages shouted, Elderly, don't just stand there. Get them out of there. Whoosh. A black figure flashed, and before the trio could react, a thick hand grabbed their shoulders and got them out. It was no other than Li Jingtian. Elderly Li Jingtian looked stunned, but seeing his heavy look, he did not finish. He followed Li Jingtian's gaze to see the sages shake, then cough blood, while their domain soul instantly collapsed. Roar. The world shook as four dragons roamed above the mystical heaven sect. They broke out of the domain and circled around before vanishing as they returned to the four elders, while the spinning circle, the yellow dragon, was still there and just as powerful. The four elders sitting in the air did not show any sign of disturbance. The sages looked at the four and revealed fear on their faces. Ha ha ha. I never knew they had people that can use such a domain soul. It's our first time seeing such a soul, such a rarity. One elder chuckled. A shame you're too weak. You've been taxed before attacking us and were injured. Or you might have made us get serious. Another elder nodded. This soul domain sure is fantastic. Using yin and yang to turn the world around. An average cultivator would have had no way to cope with it. However, this domain's weakness is glaring. It's great for wearing the enemy out, but also leaving him with enough time to deal with it. The other three nodded, discussing things as if the sages weren't even in their radar. If not for this, I would have actually wanted to see what they looked like. Humph, fogies sure know how to talk. So you're saying we're not worth a glance from you, is that it? However, following the shout of anger at the four, a gaudy white light shot for them. Why don't you old freaks look at this then? Whoosh! Like an arrow from above, a searing heat approached the four old guys. Boom. Once the glaring light was gone, the four's position became a white ball of light, making the air shimmer from the heat. Xiao Yinhai and Xue Qingjian panted as they looked over as grave as before. They knew the four were by no means dead even from the life and death art they just used. But when the light scattered, the couple still gasped in shock. How can this be? The elders were still spinning around, relaxed as ever. Their eyes were closed still, their mouths perked in a mocking smile. The yellow dragon above was still circling. Unfazed, the couple trembled all over, their hearts sinking. They had been hurt before they attacked just now, but that life and death art was a strike backed by all their power. Even so, it couldn't even scratch them, nor make them budge. To the four elders, the couple was not even worth a look. Everyone felt terror at this moment. They were just no match for them. Xuan looked over and frowned. For Earth Dragon Souls? That's precisely it. Sect leader Qilin laughed. Didn't I tell you? While you don't know of Western Land's sect's powers, you at least should know of the demon scheming sect, High Venerable. Xuan looked long at him and nodded. I heard of him but never saw him. Haha, then allow me to tell you. In the Western Lands, we are known as Tianyu's 3 guardian sects, with each sect their own guardians. Sect leader Qilin spoke with pride. 1 Sword 5 Dragons is the name our guardians go by. What? You mean to say? Han Qinying cried out in disbelief. I've always thought it to be just a rumor. But it's real? Then the 4 venerables are them? Danner asked from the side. Senior sister, what are you talking about? Why don't I know this? You haven't been in the sect for long, so of course you don't know. High Venerable shook her head. Some elders of the sects know that our sect has 4 great venerables defending our home, heavenly cycle elders. Demon scheming sect's elusive sacred dragon is equally renowned. But with how much time has passed and they didn't show themselves, everyone stopped believing this rumor. High Venerable turned to the 4 sitting elders with fear and despair. If they come out, not even the demon scheming sect's entire force can beat them. Even with the High Venerable, we still won't win. Ha ha ha, exactly. They are truly mystical heaven sect's elders, knowing when to gauge the situation. Sect leader Qilin laughed. 1 Sword 5 Dragons, Tianyu's 3 guardian sects, is made of heavenly sword, guarding heaven trailing sect. Of the 5 dragons, 4 of them are wood dragon, fire dragon, ice dragon, metal dragon, the 4 elders in our sect. This leaves the demon scheming sect's only High Venerable, hidden dragon. Although he is said to be the strongest of the 5 dragons, how can one defeat a team of 4? Thinking back when he with the Impermanence 5 attacked the heavenly cycle elders, they were defeated. So even if he shows up, we have nothing to fear. Xuan squinted as he spoke heavily. So these 4 great experts that were always in hiding finally came out. Humph! Our 4 venerables have been in seclusion for years and years, readying to enter soul harmony stage. But with your assault, they had no choice but to come. Sect leader Qilin snarked. Xuan, you and your men will die here. Ha ha ha. Shaoyu was bouncing from joy. Xuan, a vile fiend like you dared to attack a righteous sect, and now you see the power we have. Ha ha ha. Seeing the father and son so full of themselves. Xuan stayed silent. My head is still sitting on my shoulder. Aren't you two jumping the gun a little? He then turned an eyebrow at the 4 old guys. They sure are strong. Guess these 2 aren't that full of it either. Ack! Cries resounded after Li Jingtian saved the trio. Luo clan's ethereal stage experts arrived there as well. 36 people surrounded the 4, however. The 4 made a sign and the dragon roared. As they spun around in a circle, dragons came out of them and then made a round trip back each time it did. A dragon soul would always take at least a victim. The powerful Earth Dragon Soul along with the might of this combination made these ethereal stage experts feel like entering hell. They couldn't even get near the circle, ending up dead before they could do anything. Everyone was shocked, even demon scheming sex oldies. Knowing the 4 were the High Venerables and also known as the 4 dragons, they were struck with fear. Since High Venerable can't beat them, we're only going there to die. Mystical Heaven Sect's group came out from their disadvantage with high morale. Their support was here. I never knew these old devils weren't just rumors. 4 Earth Dragon Souls and even forming a Heaven Cycle array. How to cope with it? Han Qinying sighed. She looked at Qilin protecting her. Qilin, it seems we'll only be together for a brief moment. Olo. Superscript 1AO, Qilin held her hand. With you by my side, a moment is enough. Han Qinying gave a bright smile and nodded. The onlookers were gratified but also sad. The two's feelings never changed after all these years, yet when they reunited, they were about to be separated once more. Demon scheming sect's defeat meant their deaths. Sect leader Qilin sighed, snickered. Xuan's eyes were the only ones bright. He took a deep breath. I really didn't want to do this, but what choice is there? Chapter 749, Despair and Regret. Chapter 749, Despair and Regret. Proofreader, Papatonks. Boom. Following the string of explosions, wails of agony filled the area. The heavenly cycle elders spun in the air like a disk, calm and unfazed. Yet with every spin, they sent out hundreds of dragon souls like a storm upon the enemy Luo clan's ethereal stage. Experts had no way of approaching the four under this onslaught. In fact, they were the one getting slaughtered. In mere moments, the remaining dozen still left alive from the last attack were now gone, as well. Everyone could not believe what they saw. Even Li Jingtian, a martial fanatic, shook at such power. Roar. A draconic roar sounded as the yellow dragon shot for Li Jingtian. Startled, Li Jingtian flicked his hand in a rush, sending a black dragon to meet the attack. Necro Dragon Chain Claw. Black claws came at the yellow dragon, sharp enough to whistle through the air as they approached. However, the yellow dragon still came at him relentlessly. Bam! The deafening sound made the others cover their ears. Whether mistakenly or not, they even heard sounds of tearing. The next moment, they saw Li Jingtian spit blood, his body powerless as he fell to the ground. The black dragon soul had also vanished. Elderly, Luo Yunhai shouted, his eyes shaking. Just then, a black figure flashed before Li Jingtian, holding him before he collapsed. Qiao Yinhai sensed the faint breath in Li Jingtian and roared, "Old bat, take young master and the others away from here." Elder Li's soul must be almost shattered. The four old guys are impossible to deal with as we are. Hurry up and get out of here. Sure, old coot. Whoosh. In a flash of white, Shui Qingjian came to Qiao Yinhai. With her white silk, she wrapped it around them and left. Sages, protect us. The sage's mouth twitched, but sighed. How were they supposed to do that against such an opponent? But when it came to clan head safety, it was their duty. Yinyang Reversal Domain. Soul Variant, Yinyang World Lock. The two shouted and made their signs. The rattling of a chain was heard, followed by the coming of one white and one black chains, twisting around and releasing a strange aura in a blink. The chains circled around the heavenly cycle elders and locked them in place. The circle was going to move again, but with the chains, it wouldn't budge. How amusing. It's not just as simple as a mere domain soul. One elder spoke in amazement, another elder nodded. Yin Yang Chain, connecting heaven and earth. It looks like they shrunk their domain down to the size of a chain, but it is in fact the opposite. They enlarged it. Because the chain's yin yang energy, connecting the world, it makes us connect with it and taking out power with it, forcing us in place. I never thought these two's domain soul would have such a variation. Truly amazing. Humph, that's right. In the Radiant stage we have comprehended this move, and even used it to seal off one true monster. The sages smiled, recalling the time they had Goose Santong trapped with pride. Now that we are in the ethereal stage, with domain soul as support, this move is perfected. We refuse to believe you four old coots are worse than that monster and can remove the chains. Heaven Sage shouted at the distant couple, "Take Elderly and clan head to a safe place. Leave this to us. We promise to not let these old guys leave this place before the battle is over." As expected of the strongest sages in Tianyu. "You truly are reliable." Ha ha ha. Qiao Yinhai gave a thumbs up and a laugh. Luo Yunhai smiled as well. Seeing the four old guys trapped, however, they had no idea how much the sages were suffering. The reason their domain soul was strong was because of its size, capable of dispersing the enemy's power. But now, the domain was the size of a chain. The heavenly cycle elders' mighty power made them feel a pressure like never before while the chains connected the world around them, shifting the pressure. But even that fraction of power left behind was enough to strain every fiber of their being. But they held on, even if their tendons broke. They knew that if they could not hold the four freaks back, then the clan head was dead. That was why they would use their own lives to keep the four here. However, none around understood this. Some demon-scheming sect elders saw the heavenly cycle elders stuck and cried, "These secular cultivators are amazing. They actually trapped the four dragons. This isn't possible for any ethereal stage cultivator in the lower three sects." Yeah, just how are they so strong? No wonder their steward was AIDS. They're as weird as him. But why didn't they use this move from the start? Why wait for so many to die? Yeah, was it to show off at the last moment? After the admiration faded, suspicion rose. The sages' faces twitched as they made signs. Who the hell would use a last-ditch effort if not at the end? After this, it'd be a miracle if they were still alive. If not for the clan head being in peril, they would have never used it, but how could these fools know? Not even Luo Yunhai and Qiu Yinhai knew this truth. Only Xuan saw how hard it was. Touching his ring, guess, I do have to use it after all? Ha ha ha, Xuan. You can't possibly think those two can stop Mystical Heaven Sect's 4 guardian dragons, do you? You must be dumber than I thought. Xuan did not get to act as sect leader. Xian's bragging caught his attention, pointing at the 4 elders. Just watch and witness true despair. The 4 elders were still sitting with their eyes closed when one started. Ha ha ha, ignorant juniors, don't get too cocky. Your domain soul might have merit, but it's nothing to us 4. The 4 made different signs, and the dragon soaring above increased its speed, sending wave after wave of yellow energy, rattling the yin-yang chains. The sage's brow furrowed as they made their own signs. No use. We have joined heaven and Ugh. Before they finished, their bodies shook and spat blood before slumping to the ground. Boom. With an explosion, the yellow energy rippled like a wave and crushed the yin-yang chains. Ha ha ha. Our souls are earth dragon souls, born of the earth. While you can make our power touch the world, we can touch upon the earth to resonate with. We drew its power and used the ones we had to attack the chains from both sides. The 4 old guys still sat there in midair. One of them smiled. It's not your souls that are weak. It's because you met us that happened to have the way to deal with you. The sages were on the ground, powerless, with barely a breath left in them. Their eyes were filled with regret. The elders never once looked at them. The 2 souls are in a worse state and can't move. We should first deal with those pesky bugs and finish them for good. The other 3 elders nodded. The 4 spun once more and moved into the crowd of people, the ethereal stage experts of the 2 sects that were now fighting. The minute they joined the fray, it spelled doom for the demon scheming sect's experts. Cries and wails rang everywhere. Mystical Heaven Sect's elders were overjoyed. With their sect guardians fighting, the tables had turned. Demon Scheming Sect's early advantage was now crushed. The faces of all the people from Demon Scheming Sect was now painted in the bleak colors of despair and regret. Chapter 750, Ace. Chapter 750, Ace. Proofreader, Papatonks. Ack. Wails and mournful cries kept echoing about Roar. Among them, there were also cheers. One side was happy, the other was in the pits of despair as the 4 old freaks struck the Demon Scheming Sect side hard. Mystical Heaven Sect's people were roaring their joy in a flash. Demon Scheming Sect's tens of experts fell dead, their morale crushed. Some were so taken by fear that they lost all will to fight. Resorting to fleeing defeat looked certain. Xuan. What do we do? We'll lose if this keeps up. We have to get away. Fiendyang came to Xuan to report this disaster. My eastern side is on the brink of collapse. Venerable Bai and others came flying as well. The western side is almost finished. The heavenly cycle elders rain death wherever they go. We can't go on. Steward Xua, the path forward is almost shut. We should unite our forces and break through before it's too late. Venerable Qi urged. Xuan spoke. It's pointless even if we do get away from them. Our tactic to get in and attack from the inside now has us trapped in their defensive array. We're left with only one option, to either win or die. You mean there's no point even if we try? We can't break Mystical Heaven Sect's array? Are we going to die here? Venerable Qi wailed. Fiendyang took a deep breath to calm down, then stared hard at Xuan. Then what should we do? Are we really going to fight to the death? Of course not. Take down the leader and the rest will follow. Xuan's eyes shone as he stared at sect leader Xin. They all started, getting his meaning, of course. We just have to grab that old weasel and the Mystical Heaven Sect will give in. Seeing the bloodthirst in their eyes, sect leader Xin got their plan and mocked as he retreated. Ha ha ha. You want me? You would never reach me. We'll only know when we try. Fiendyang snickered. Brothers, attack? Get that old coot. Our lives depend on it. Roar. They all shouted, knowing they had a way out, and focused all their power, flying straight for sect leader Xian. Their eyes were that of a thug eyeing a hot girl. Sect leader Xian shivered and turned grave. At a critical time like this, He became the sole focus of everyone. Everyone wanted him as a shield. Mystical Heaven Sect's experts saw their sect leader was in danger and came to help. So, the bitter battle had taken another huge turn. It was no longer a spread battlefield, but one with sect leader Qilin at its center, like he was the hottest commodity out here, and everyone had to have a piece. Hi. Oh well, Qilin. Sit tight and be a good meat shield to let us out. Demon Scheming Sect's 30-plus ethereal stage experts stared at him from 100 meters and launched soul attacks. Sect leader Qilin gulped, feeling the sweat trickling down his brow. Not even he could take on so many attacks, however. Just when he was in danger, a draconic roar echoed in a flash of light. A sea of dragon souls rushed at them. In a single moment, howls echoed out and the 30-plus experts were now pushed back as for sect leader Qilin. In front of him was the circle of elders with the terrible yellow dragon flying above the demon scheming sect's side. Cried out, "Heavenly Cycle Elders! How did they get here so fast?" They gathered close to Xuan, watching the four freaks. Mystical Heaven Sect side also focused around sect leader Qilin, filled with smiles of disdain. In a blink, there was no more fighting as the parties stood in opposition. While the Mystical Heaven Sect was filled with courage, the Demon Scheming Sect was now fearful, all because of just four very monstrous elders. Ha, Xuan, fighting you is beneath me. With Mystical Heaven Sect's four guardians, you are finished. You want me? Humph, you'll have to go through our venerables first. Sect leader Qilin shouted in pride. Shaoyu had to show off as well, being his son and all. Xuan, vile demon, you fooled my junior sister and are lower than a dog. I will soon have you ripped apart in tiny pieces and throw them to the wolves. Ha, Demon Scheming Sect was outraged but powerless. Their last hope was in Xuan, turning to him for a resolution. What now, Steward Xua? You pushed me this far, so don't you regret it later. I'll have to use my final ace. Xuan's eyes flashed as he played with his ring. Fiend Young turned serious. Xuan, are you going to fight yourself? You want to fight? Han Qinying frowned. They have those four venerables. You can't beat them. Qilin waved her off with a smile. Qinying, you don't understand Steward Xua. He has an ultimate move. You haven't seen Steward Xua's black flame. Any kind of freak met their maker. I hate him. Xuan cleared his voice before Qilin finished. To be completely honest, he was also stumped on how to deal with the four elders. That black thunder flame was indeed of incredible destructive force, but after Double Dragon Gathering, he never used it because the thunder flame needed the decimating golden flame and the azure flame to be combined with purple lightning. He had no way of getting his hands on the golden flames. The ones he got on Double Dragon Gathering were stolen from Qilin, not his own, so that method was out and had no way of beating the freakish old coots. As for the other method, it was something he stole from Double Dragon Manor, the sacred weapon, but it could only be used as a very last resort. Exposing it would paint a huge target on his back, but Qilin's words made everyone turn to him. Everyone was now eager to see what the great Steward Xua would reveal. Even the four freaks believed it possible. Oh, so you're the boss of this little rabble? Show me then. What a babe can possibly do to the four of us. I hope you can at least open our eyes. Ha! Xuan, come and challenge our venerables if you have the guts. What difference does it make since you'll be dead anyway, even if you don't? Ha! Sect leader Qilin snarked. Xuan smiled at them all, though sighing within him, I'll have to disappoint you all. I don't plan on fighting. The Demon Scheming Sect was stumped and shook their heads. Even Steward Xua can't find a way? Xuan then continued, however, I have to take out this ace. Remember this, you forced me to do it, so don't go crying later. Xuan flicked his hand, and in a glorious light, a 7-year-old kid showed up, invincible scamp Gu Santong with a long yawn. Gu Santong stretched his waist, looking bored at Xuan. Dad, what took you so long? I almost fell asleep. Ha, haven't I taken you out now? You're our ace. How can I just show you to them? I needed to wait for the right moment. Xuan grinned as he showed a bright smile like an innocent child. Gu Santong nodded, totally buying it. The crowd, however, was stumped. Even Fiend Young began cursing him. What the hell? Why did you take out a kid when you were talking about an ace? He is my ace. With an obvious nod, Xuan spoke with pride. As a father, my son is my biggest ace. Mystical Heaven Sect, listen up and listen well. To get to me, you'll have to go through my son first. Xuan's loud voice made Gu Santong puff out his chest in pride. To hold back the flood for his old man was this kid's greatest honor, however. No one else here saw it that way. Both sides were stumped, looking from father to son as they cursed, "You animal." Chapter 751, Little Monster vs. Old Freaks. Chapter 751, Little Monster vs. Old Freaks. Proofreader, Papatonks. Humph. I've heard so much about the best and most talented disciple in Western lands, how he was so heroic at the Double Dragon Gathering. In the end, you're hiding behind a child. You really opened my eyes in this. Sect leader Xin mocked, while the mystical heaven sect was jeering at Xuan's expense when disaster struck. A babe was taken out. Demon scheming sect were facing a fierce enemy now, but they were all veteran cultivators. They had status and respect, even as demonic cultivators. Even they wouldn't stoop so low as to use a child to take their burdens. It was beyond disgraceful. They all cast blaming looks at Xuan. This war was a big misunderstanding to begin with. We can even forget the fact you brought us to our death, but can you at least let us die with honor? What the hell did we do to deserve this? Steward Xuan, if you're at the end of the rope, fighting to the death is much better than leaving it in the hands of a child. Are you maybe going easy on your enemy? Venerable Qi-side Fiend Yang blamed. Xuan, I know your whole clan is a den of freaks, obvious from how this child is in the ethereal stage at such a young age. But he's way too young and never knew war. It'd be better to let him escape and take revenge for us. Why must you push him forward, crushing our hopes and making a fool of yourself? Hey, did you just say something, chubby? Yours truly can dish it out. Are you calling me weak? Gu Santong wrinkled his nose in anger. Fiend Yang sighed and rubbed Gu Santong's head. See that? Look how much he resembles you. But no matter how strong, you can't grow overconfident. He's just in the ethereal stage. How can he fight those old freaks at peak ethereal stage? Have you no heart to send your child? Gu Santong was about to blow a gasket. Xuan shook his head but said nothing. Fatty Yang, you asked for what's coming. Young Sanzi won't go easy on you. Pa. Gu Santong grabbed Fiend Yang's hand and startling him. What is it, little guy? I hate it when people touch my head. Gu Santong gnashed his teeth. But just then, a fair hand touched his as a delicate voice spoke. Are you young Sanzi? I heard of you. Startled, young Sanzi looked at the pretty lady with a stunned gaze, his hand easing his grip on Fiend Yang. Then, young Sanzi, our safety is in your hands. Chu Qingqing leaned and touched Gu Santong's cheek. Her bright smile blew the child's mind. Nodding out of reflex, Xuan sighed. No one can resist Qingqing's beauty, not even this brat. So he coughed and pointed at Chu Qingqing. Young Sanzi, this is my lady. She'll be your mother from now on. Mom? Gu Santong shook and looked at Chu Qingqing. Great. I like her. Chu Qingqing blushed and rolled her eyes at Xuan. Then she turned to the enemy, at the heavenly cycle elders, and asked concerned, Young Sanzi, can you beat them? Won't it be hard? Humph. What's so great about some small fries? Gu Santong mocked, then strutted over. Dad, Mom, in half an hour I'll make mincemeat out of them. Chu Qingqing looked at him, then at Xuan with red cheeks. Ha ha, this kid is just like his dad. He called you Mom without hesitation. Xuan chuckled. Chu Qingqing glared at him, but felt warm and fuzzy inside. The others was watching the queer scene in stunned silence. What kind of parents sent their child to die, even if unrelated? Han Xinying frowned and asked, Qingqing, how can you agree with Xuan, letting a child? Senior sister, he's no child. Chu Qingqing said, in Tianyu, he has never lost a fight. He's called Invincible Scamp for a reason. Yeah, even I couldn't beat this kid. Xuan sighed, then smiled. Qingqing, you sure know young Sanzi quite well? Chu Qingqing smiled. Of course. I might have come to Mystical Heaven Sect earlier, but my sisters from Drifting Flowers Edifices have sent me jade slips with all you've been doing in Tianyu. So the fact you have such a godlike godson, I knew as well. I just find it odd though. Just what did you use to cheat this great force to be your son? The same way I charmed the most gorgeous woman to be my wife. Xuan grinned. Qingsheng rolled her eyes and cursed. Since when were you such a smooth talker? As the two were in a rare moment of flirting with each other, Gu Santong was a child on a mission. This monstrous scamp wearing the face of a cute child was finally unleashed on the battlefield. Everyone stared at him, sighing and helpless. They knew Xuan was a bastard, but not without morals. To send a child on the cruel field of battle, and even calling him a glorified ace. How revolting seeing that sweet little face, and those chubby hands. They all found him adorable. That's no ace, but a small fry. Sect leader Xin mocked. Is this demon scheming Sect's trump card? With both parents dead, this child will have to wander alone the cruel road of cultivation? Haha, a shame that this won't work on us. We may be righteous cultivators, but no saints. Humph, yeah, this demon brat is so young and in the ethereal stage. It's best to cull him now before he grows. Shaoyu gnashed his teeth. The heavenly cycle elders agreed. One elder even shouted, Kid, do you really want to interfere for demonic cultivators? We won't go easy on you just because you're young. Cut the crap, I came to stomp you. Gu Santong stuck out his head and charged demon scheming Sect was shocked and praised him. How brave. Like father like son, they're both stubborn. Mystical Heaven's Sect clenched their fists. Clear this was a demon in the making that was treating everyone beneath him. They had to get rid of him now. The elder smirked and nodded. Fine then. Since you've been taken in by the demonic path even at your young age, then the four of us will have to cleanse you and release you from your mortal coil. The four made signs, and with a draconic roar, a dragon soul shot for Gu Santong. Everyone was shocked, worried for the sweet child. Then they looked at Xuan. Aren't you going to rescue your own son? Xuan just stood there with a smile. Hypocrite. Get in here and fight. Stop with your prattle. You're nothing more than a bunch of hypocrites using numbers. Seeing the dragon about to strike, Gu Santong mocked, flicking his hand at it. Bam! With a loud explosion, the dragon was sent flying with a wail before anyone could react. Back to its circle the four elders shook, not believing their eyes. A child was capable of so much power to bash their earth dragon soul away. Gu Santong wasn't finished with his attack. He stomped and was right in front of their spinning circle. He let his almighty fist smash down on them. Boom. With another explosion, the yellow dragon constantly floating around the circle had its body cave in and cry in pain. Its body was broken and turned into pretty lights before vanishing. As for the circle, with the vanishing of the dragon, the power of his strike traveled straight for the four, who lifted a hand to block. Bam! The four were sent hundreds of meters away. They were forced to open their eyes at last, having no luxury to show off any longer. Looking at Gu Santong, they had shock painted on their faces. What the hell are you? Oh, you weren't blind? I thought you were crippled, so I held back. Damn fakers, ruining my sympathy. Now I see there's no need to anymore. Gu Santong clenched his fist and mocked. The audience was still very much out of it after seeing a 7-year-old brat punch the four old freaks. No wonder Steward says he's his ace. He was serious. But what the hell? There's just one freakier than the next. Looking from Gu Santong to Xuan, they sighed, having no idea what to call them anymore. How are we supposed to make a living with so many monsters around? Chapter 752, Ender. Chapter 752, Ender. Proofreader, Papatonks. A shock like no other overrode their minds and all common sense. Everyone was now watching with empty eyes as Gu Santong stood in the air as a fan. What the hell is that kid of yours? Fiend Yang gulped. The others were looking at the Grand Steward Xuan with overwhelming emotions. He did not reply and ordered instead, everyone scatter. Get some distance from them. Xuan was the first to move back, with others quick to react, flying 1,000 meters. While the mystical heaven Sect side were still too stunned to react, not even noticing their movements. They just stood there, watching Gu Santong with a dumb look. This distance should be safe. Xuan sighed. Do you know why I had young Sanzi come out now to fight? They just shook their empty minds. Still dazed, Xuan chuckled. Because this kid has a foul temper and mean strength. Once he gets worked up, nothing can stop him. Our main objective, you all know, is to teach mystical heaven's Sect a lesson, crush their attitude, not destroy them. Or Double Dragon Manor will not sit still. The oldies nodded. No matter how many conflicts there were between sects, Double Dragon Manor would never allow for them to blow out into a bloody war and weaken the western lands. Only as a last resort could I let this troublesome kid out. Or one strike from him could even wipe this thousands of years-old sect off the face of this world. Xuan sighed. A shame they just don't listen, insisting on making me take out my last move. They reap what they sow, it's not my fault at all. Dude, we're the invaders here. Fiend Yang scratched his nose and felt helpless. Steward Xua is such a dirtbag. He has no morals. You came here to mess them up, and you expect them to welcome you with wide smiles? Then again, those were demonic cultivators for you. Especially Steward Xua's arrogant, self-righteous kind. They were everywhere, however. There was something he failed to see. Steward Xua, is your son that strong? The mystical heaven sect is still a sect. Don't believe me? Watch. My kid was known as an ender in Tianyu, destroying everything in his path. Xuan shrugged, everyone frowned, then focused on the fight. Just in time to see Gu Santong walking for the mystical heaven sect with an obnoxious attitude. Like none were up to his standards. Steward Xua, your son is your spitting image of your heroism and brutality. Ha ha, Venerable, by chuckled. Xuan shrugged and smiled. The heavenly cycle elders watched Gu Santong's insufferable attitude and were fuming mad. They knew the kid was more than he seemed. But his blatant disdain was getting to these elders' nerves. Enough of your arrogance, kid. We have underestimated you before, but don't think you will get rid of us so easily. Really? Then let's continue. Gu Santong snickered and hooked a finger in mockery. You're all bark and no bite. Come and get me if you want. Heavenly cycle elders were red with rage. Mystical heaven sect side cried out, worried by their looks about the terrible kid. This was the first time seeing someone humiliate their four venerables, though he does have the strength. They looked on with bated breaths as the two sides were ready for a grand battle. The four elders made signs, followed by draconic roars. For dragons took to the skies. Yellow light shone from the ground beneath and bathed the dragons, transforming them into a yellow dragon hundreds of meters long. The thick pressure was crushing on everyone's shoulders, and it was all focused on Gu Santong. However, the kid's face fell a bit, and that was at the audience. Even demon scheming sects side 1,000 meters out were gasping from shock. This power was hundreds of times stronger than what the four unleashed before. Han Qinying was bug-eyed. This is the four-element cycle array? Fiend Yang saw the formation and cried as well. His face was heavy. It was an array that was made by radiant stage experts and defeated four ethereal stage experts. Now that four peak ethereal stage experts formed it, its power must be unimaginable. The four-element cycle array borrows the power of the earth and four elements to unleash the world's energy. Its power is endless. I fear that not even an early soul harmony stage expert can block an array formed by the four high venerables. That child is in danger. Shui Ruahua was worried. They all turned their eyes on Xuan, but he was as calm as ever. Qilin was a Qilin. His soul and body were one to begin with. Reaching the soul harmony stage would hardly make a difference to him, since Qilin could do it earlier. So can young Sanzi, but his will be stronger. Sect leader Xin saw the four venerables unleash such might and wrote off the kid as dead already, ignoring him. Ha ha ha, get ready for a funeral. You must have seen the power of four-element cycle array, but I must tell you that it is far deadlier in the hands of the venerables. Even more so when the venerables aren't using the four-element cycle array, but the stronger one, heavenly cycle dragon array, formed by using four earth dragon souls. Your end is nigh. Shaoyu heard his dad brag and laughed as well, looking the part of the winning side. Mystical heaven sect snickered. Demon scheming sect was silent, gnashing their teeth. Only Xuan just watched Gu Santong as he said, Young Sanzi. It's fine. Gu Santong waved his hand. His face was hard, but still mocked. Before me, even earth dragon souls are nothing more than worms. Xuan knew where young Sanzi's confidence came from. His body was that of a Qilin, his soul that of a sacred beast. Not even a heaven dragon soul could top that. Xuan just eased a breath and relaxed. Young Sanzi's confidence was seen as a joke by the heavenly cycle elders, mocking him, ignorant young devil. Do you even know what earth dragon soul is known for? It connects to the world. By combining with the earth, one's power grows tens of times. It's unlike the previous dragon soul you beat. And there's still worms. Gu Santong mocked and taunted. If you don't strike, I'll do it first. The heavenly cycle elders was outraged. Damn brat. You have the nerve to mock us? It's best we get rid of you at once with all we have. The four made a sign in unison, then pointed at Gu Santong. The huge dragon roared and charged at the little figure. Everyone watched with their hearts in their throat. Only the few who believed in young Sanzi's strength were calm. Roar. Along with the draconic roar, the dragon soul slammed down, making the ground cave in thousands of meters. Despite not feeling the dragon's brunt force, they could still feel the aftermath. The biting winds that cut at their skin. They were overwhelmed. The power was so incredible even bystanders would suffer from a stray wind. Just how would that kid stand it? When the eyes turned to Gu Santong, they were stumped once more. The kid wasn't harmed in the slightest. As if he was only standing in a mild rain, Gu Santong looked up at the incoming lizard and took a deep breath. His body flashed scarlet, his eyes shining as he got ready to lash out with the might of a true Qilin. His body as well was itching to strike and explode with power. Chapter 753, Qilin Roar. Chapter 753, Qilin Roar. Proofreader, Papatonks. Roar. As the huge dragon soul was right on top of him, Gu Santong perked his mouth up in one eerie smirk as he roared. An image of a scarlet Qilin came out of his body. As it howled, there were scarlet shock waves spreading out. As for the huge dragon soul, it faltered like it met obstacles. The scarlet ripple's shock waves slammed into it, making it feel great pain with every strike and pushing it back. That's not possible. Just by roaring, he can push back the earth dragon soul. Us four formed? Their eyes shaking, heavenly cycle elders cried out in unison from this shocking revelation. They could not believe their eyes that this was happening. Their hands shaking non-stop, they felt an immense power coming at their array. To the point it wanted to tear it out. They could not believe what was happening. This unbridled power came from a mere child's howl. His soul was also sending the four eerie vibes, a fear they hadn't sensed in centuries. The Qilin flexed its claws, ready to tear the sky open as it howled. Anything and everything that stood in its path was feeling the brunt of its power. Plunged into hell, heavenly cycle elders' brows shook, feeling feeble. None wanted to admit it, even as they knew it already. The four had met a tough opponent this time around, one that was a freak beyond them. Roar. Gu Santong saw the huge dragon soul just kept retreating and was on the brink of collapse. He grinned, having a nasty smile on his face as he shouted at the sky once more. Boom. In a split second, a red sound wave came at the huge dragon soul like a tsunami. This time, the huge dragon soul barely lasted a few seconds before crumbling down to nothing following the defeat of their combined earth dragon souls into the heavenly cycle dragon soul. The heavenly cycle elders spat blood in unison. Their soul had a deep wound, evident from their ashen face. They had no time to even catch their breath as the red sound wave came straight for them. Fricking hell, what monster is this brat? The four watched as the red wave came with dumb looks. They cursed in defiance, like dying old men, before being pulverized. All that was left of them was blood sprinkled down from four clouds. Not even their souls could withstand Gu Santong's Qilin roar, shaking their very core and ripping it apart. The dreaded red sound wave boomed in the distance and warped the space, sending shock waves everywhere. Everyone was too speechless to react. The four dragons of the Great Tianyu's three guardian sects, one sword, five dragons, had been killed by a 7-year-old just like that. Holy hell, just where the hell did this freak come from? Sect leader Xuan and his mystical heaven sect were sweating. They watched the still roaring Gu Santong with blank stares. Not just them. Even the demon scheming sect was dumbstruck at such display of raw power. They never thought it possible that Steward Xuan would call someone of such caliber, all packed neatly in a monster that was barely 7 years old. They thought the kid had a high chance of winning, but not to the point of being as easy as they saw those were mystical heaven sect's four dragons. Killed just like that by a kid? What's wrong with this world? The demon scheming sect experts sympathized with mystical heaven sect. What sin have they committed to suffer this father-son disaster? They all looked at Gu Santong, then at Xuan, chuckling to themselves, thank God he's on our side. Roar. As the red sound wave faded into the horizon, Gu Santong's bloodlust was far from quenched. He spread out his arms and legs, making the scarlet glow on him flicker brighter. Xuan cried out, "Oh shit, the kid is high on his wind and won't stop. Get back 5 more miles." Xuan was the first to get the hell out of there. The rest followed. They had no clue who Gu Santong was, but his pops should be more than clear on this. The demon-scheming Sect team retreated again, while Mystical Heaven Sect was just too out of it to react. By the time they came to their senses, all hope was lost. Qilin's soul might, shock and awe. Gu Santong shouted and flicked his childish hands. The red Qilin image once again came out and roared hum. A dreadful shock wave flew from Gu Santong in every direction. One could see with the naked eye how the scarlet wave was moving through the air. This wave was different from before. It carried death and nothing else, like a scythe coming to reap lives. The space itself warped and threatened to crack as all that stood in its way was erased from this world. Going out in a puff of dust, Sect leader Xuan and his team gasped, "Run!" Mystical Heaven Sect panicked, each going every which way. Alas, they were just too slow. They were the closest to Gu Santong to begin with and had missed their chance in getting to a safe distance from this monster in this chaotic retreat. Hundreds of people shoved, pulled, screamed, all trying to get just a little bit further. Yet in a blink, the red wave caught up to them and even passed them. The cries of pain littered the sky, losing their lives like they were no ethereal stage experts, but mere mortals. Nothing survived, even as they used all their soul power to protect themselves. Their bodies were ashes in a blink of an eye. As for their soul, it kept being shaken until it fell apart, and the enactment of this slaughter only took a few brief moments. The people watching their friends die like that were filled with shock and dread. They watched as the red wave annihilated everything in its path, not even sparing a blade of grass or a speck of dust rumble. It was doomsday. The beautiful and amazing Mystical Heaven Sect was being laid to waste with Gu Santong at its center. The worst part was, the destruction only increased. "Steward Xuan, what do we do if the red wave comes here?" Seeing the horrors the Mystical Heaven Sect was going through, Venerable Qi spoke with fear. Xuan waved his hand. "Just leave it to me." Xuan's right eye flashed in 5 golden halos as he shouted, "Divine Eye of the Void's 5th stage, Void Wall ×3. Hum. The space rippled and in front of them appeared 3 thick, invisible walls. The red wave came and stopped before the walls, but not without giving them a good rattling. Crack. As the intense sounds echoed, everyone was on tenterhooks in fear. With a loud bang, the first wall was peeled away and the red wave moved on to the second one. Everyone's face sank, looking tensely at Xuan. "Hey, Steward Xuan, what's with your son not knowing friend from foe? He's coming after us as well." Xuan easily understood their fears and just stared at the second wall without replying. The red wave slammed into the second wall and started rattling it too, but this time, it was far weaker. With a bang, signaling its collapse, the wave came upon the third wall, but very much dimmed. It struck the third wall, shaking it a little, just like in arm wrestling. None giving an inch. Everyone tensely watched the scene. If Xuan's last void wall couldn't stop it, they would end up just like Mystical Heaven Sect, though they would be in a better spot, as the wave was much weaker than the one that culled their enemies. Chapter 754, Waste. Chapter 754, Waste. Proofreader, Papatonks. Crack. With a sharp sound, Xuan's last void wall was about to fall, giving way for the red wave to attack the demon-scheming Sect team's. Faces turned heavy, their hearts in their throat as they used all they had to protect themselves. Qilin held Han Qinyin close, as he used his soul power to protect both of them. Bam! Xuan's third void wall collapsed at last and caused the others to jump. The red wave swept for them the next second, but before it reached them, it faded away into nothing and Gu Santong's dreadful power never touched them. Startled, they all looked at each other before bursting in joy. The kid's vibration wave was like a shock wave. My void wall used separate spaces to lower its power. One can say they're mutually exclusive. Xuan eased a long breath. If not, in the face of that high-intensity vibration, even an ethereal stage expert would receive a heavy wound, if not killed outright. The others nodded, exuberant they just got out alive. Venerable Yuan gave a thumbs up. "Steward Xuan, You really know your son the best. If it were anyone else, they'd suffer for it. Only you could resist it. You are his father after all. Ha ha ha. The others laughed alongside him. Ha ha. You don't have to say that. I'm so much weaker than my kid. Since we're so far away, and the kid didn't use a targeted move, I could block it. Xuan sighed. Now do you understand why I didn't want to take him out? Because this brat forgets himself, just like a child. The others nodded and felt Xuan's pain, such a mighty power in the hands of a rash kid. It was not just deadly to the enemy, but even to oneself. The only reason Steward Xuan let the boy out was because the heavenly cycle elders intervened. I worry he just destroyed mystical heaven sect with this move. How are we going to explain it to Double Dragon Manor? Xuan frowned and sighed. With sacred beasts' pride, they never go easy. Ever since young Sanzi was taught about being a Qilin, he's been going further and further down the path of a king of beasts. Just like earlier, the enemy was clearly crushed, but he still showed off his power as if to show he was the best in the world. He gave no thought to the consequences. This was the difference between beasts and humans. Beasts only cared about power, while humans were shrewd, turning the strong into weak, defeat into victory. Young Sanzi was a Qilin's son, so following the beast way was a given, though throwing him into the world of man was far from sensible. If he lacked the tiniest bit, Xuan, his godfather, would have died alongside the enemy. Sighing, Xuan shook his head. Fiend Yang spoke in a shaken tone. Xuan, look there. Your son didn't ruin mystical heaven sect, though there's barely anything left. He really is an ender. For crying out loud, what kind of monsters is your clan made of? One is worse than the last. The father ruled Double Dragon Gathering, and the son stomps a sect? This is unnatural. The rest turned their heads to look, only to be staring. Agape Gu Santong was still acting almighty in the sky, looking down on everything, but turning to mystical heaven sect, the previous nice scenery was reduced to rubble, with corpses strewn everywhere. There were also sobs and cries here and there, while blood trickled from every corner. This was hell, no two ways about it. Han Xianying and Shui Ruohua looked away in tears. This was their home. Chu Qingqing looked away as well. Even if she hadn't been here for long, Dad, Mom, I mowed them good. It hasn't even been half an hour. Gu Santong smiled as he sped for them. The others were so scared they didn't even look him in the eye. What kind of child can raise a lower 3 sect to the ground? Fiend Yang looked worried by his attitude. He still recalled the child's annoyance with him. To any normal kid that whined, Fiend Yang would only tease him more, except for young Sanzi. He didn't have it in him. He was better off keeping a safe distance. If the guy's temper went off, there wouldn't be just whining and tears, but blood and gore. Looking at the ground littered with corpses and victims, Fiend Yang felt utter regret. Am I that bored to rub a kid's head? Xuan looked around, then smiled at Gu Santong. Young Sanzi, you did great. Leave the rest to me. You don't have to do anything now. Sure. Young Sanzi bobbed his head like a good kid, giggling innocently. Only the guys around thought. Who'd ever believe that pure smile? Seeing the bloody aftermath, Venerable Qi said, Steward Xuan, this isn't easy to settle. We need a very good reason for all of this to make the Double Dragon Manor stop, even if they come here. I know that. Xuan's eyes shone. Find sect leader Xian and Shaoyu fast. They're our only hope of coming clean out of this mess. None knew what he meant, but they obeyed, understood. They all began their search. Venerable Qi and Bai shared a look and grinned crash. In a pile of rubble, sect leader Xian crawled out from all that rock, bleeding from his mouth. He had no time to address his condition as he felt the rubble shift under him, and a youth clawed his way out. Only Shaoyu looked deathly pale. The spiritual armor on him had long since broken into two, dangling from his body. Thank God the 9th grade spiritual armor was here to save his life. Sect leader Xian touched his hand and sent his soul power to check Shaoyu's condition. He laughed in joy. Shaoyu, I'm so happy you're fine. Shaoyu opened his eyes to see his father, but then he gasped, Dad, Xuan ruined our sect. We can't let him get away with this. Don't worry. I will definitely make sure he'll be ripped apart for you. Sect leader Xian's face was hard. Shaoyu showed a weak smile. Great Xuan, I won't ever let you and junior sister Qingqing be happy together. Ha ha ha, you can't even protect yourself, young Master Xian. Yet you still have the luxury to worry about Qingqing and my happiness? Why thank you. Shaoyu did not get to finish as a mocking tone came sect leader Xian looked to see Xuan bearing a sinister smile as he came over with the girl's sect leader Xian spat. Xuan, demon fiend, you ruined my sect and still dare to show your face here? Why not? With your heavy wounds, what can you possibly do to me? Xuan raised an eyebrow. Mystical Heaven Sect's experts are now dead or wounded. Even you can't protect yourself. So why the high and mighty attitude? You sect leader Xian was filled with fury, but didn't get to finish as he coughed blood again. Xuan shrugged. See, you have no power left. Your life is now in my hands. I'll be honest here. Your death or survival is at my whim. You have no choice in the matter. Sect leader Xian remained silent, only biting his lip. Utter humiliation. A sect leader like him had never been in such a state before. Taunted by the enemy and with no way of retorting, because he knew what he said was the truth. He was now powerless. The demon-scheming sect team grinned at him. Han Xinying and the girls just sighed. The great mystical heaven sect had gotten theirs. Now reduced to this, well, do you want to live or die? Xuan's eyes shone, getting to the main point. Chapter 755, Rules. Chapter 755, Rules. Proofreader, Papatonks. Sect leader Xian's brow shook. He looked with gnashed teeth at Xuan but said nothing. Despite that, the humiliation was so great he clenched his fists. Xuan ignored it all and leaned over him, reaching with his venomous claw and hoisting Shaoyu by the neck. In that case, there's nothing more to talk about. Wait, what are you doing? Let him go. Sect leader Xian cried out. He wanted to move, but he only coughed more blood. Xuan snickered as he shouted, do you want to live or die? Sect leader Xian's eyes shook, but the words were stuck in his throat, because speaking meant surrendering. As they say, it is better to die on your feet than live on your knees. Many of the secular cultivators could do it, so why couldn't the great sect leader of Mystical Heaven Sect? But looking at his son, turning red from the grip on his neck, sect leader Xian sighed and shook his head. When even an ant clings to life, what more is there to say about man's desire to live? What do you want, Xuan? Sect leader Xian, that's an attitude more befitting of moving with the times. Ha ha ha. Grinning, Xuan relaxed his hand, and Shaoyu slumped to the ground, gasping for breath. He looked at Xuan in fear, having lost his cocky attitude, ignoring the useless son. Xuan gave Venerable Qi a look, and he threw an empty jade slip over to sect leader Xian. Taking it, sect leader Xian asked, what's this? Ha ha, nothing much. Just hoping sect leader Xian can help me write something down. Xuan beamed. Sect leader Xian's hand tightened at his words, and his brow furrowed. Xuan, you can't possibly be thinking of twisting facts and making my mystical heaven sect be the culprit here. Sect leader Xian knew the minute he put any word on the jade slip, his soul signature would be imprinted on it. Then no matter how much he begged Double Dragon Manor for justice, no one would believe him. They would have no choice but to live with this stain. His hands shook and his teeth clenched together, all while the demon-scheming sect team was looking at him with mockery. Yeah, that's right. We bet you, and now we're robbing you of any means of fighting back. What are you gonna do about it? It's not our fault you turned out to be so weak. Ha ha. Looking at the piles of rubble around him that were once his sect, at the dead experts and few survivors, they had no other fate than to be under someone's thumb. Sect leader Xian sighed. His hand twitched as it held the jade slip. Sect leader Xian, if you don't do this, we'll leave no survivors. Xuan snickered. We might even turn this place into a wasteland. You dare? Why the hell not? Xuan shouted back. The central area is getting ready for war with the other lands. Mystical Heaven Sect's demise can be written off with hundreds of excuses. Moreover, the girls were your disciples, and with a few words to Double Dragon Manor, your case will be put aside. Who would want to test the relations because of a lower 3 sect only to give room for the enemy to strike? Shaking all over, sect leader Xian's face fell. At the end of the day, rules are gimmicks used in times of peace. When the enemy comes knocking, even Double Dragon Manor would focus on the good of Western lands. Who'd have the time to waste on rules? Xuan grinned. Sect leader Xian has been around for so long and should know this better than anyone. Sect leader Xian's clenched fist finally eased inside. If the central area is indeed attacking, ha ha, the mystical heaven sect's matter will be forgotten. I talk, you write. Ignoring him and his last probe, Xuan spoke in a cold tone, as if he already knew the central area would come, when he was just being full of it. But because he was acting like this, sect leader Xian bought it. Firstly, the matter with Qingcheng. You came to her for double dragon gathering. Now that's over, the deal is also over. But you still forced her to stay. As her husband, I came to take her, but you started pushing me around, which led to war. Xuan narrated while sect leader Xian wrote down like a machine. Next, mystical heaven sect's elders picked on me with their superior numbers, and then demon scheming sect's elders came to the rescue, leading to both sides entering a bitter fight. Sect leader Xian's eyes shook, but he stayed silent. Picked on you? You were the one who got the whole sect to come in hiding, and you dare say picked on you? You did it knowing fully where it led. This Xuan is so sinister, planning it all from the start, and I fell right for it. Sect leader Xian gnashed his teeth in hatred, writing down as Xuan said it. Finally, after a hard battle, the demon scheming sect came out victorious, being lenient on you, seeing how both were sects from Western lands. But the casualties were too great and not what we hoped for. Your clan also knew this matter could have been done without bloodshed and sincerely apologized, promising to leave this matter as that. To prove it, you leave this jade slip. Finishing, Xuan nodded. That's about it. Did you get it all, sect leader Xian? For God's sake, this is clearly kicking us while we're down. I'm so mad, yet I can't even fight back. Sect leader Xian's hands shook, his breath ragged as he finished writing. Looking at the green jade slip, he wanted to crush it so badly he knew that the instant he handed it over, his loss today would be left with his sect suffering in silence. Double Dragon Manor would see that he was in the wrong and would not take his side. They wouldn't even look into it. Now with how ruined his sect was, are these reasons enough? Seeing sect leader Xian shaking as he offered the jade slip, Xuan did not take it but looked to the others. You guys have been around Western lands for longer and understand the rules better. What am I missing here? Sect leader Xian spurted blood on the spot. For crying out loud, isn't this disgrace enough? You want more? Are you trying to peel us one strip at a time? Venerable Qi smiled and shook his head. Steward Xua, these are enough. Steward Xua saving his wife after being trapped is reasonable. Our later help to Steward Xua is only natural. It's all reasonable. Even if you argue it with Double Dragon Manor, it still won't matter. Ha ha ha. Hold it, Qilin shouted, bowing to Venerable Qi and saying, Steward Xua, I find these reasons adequate, but not enough to stir sympathy. They're too plain. Shouldn't we flourish it a bit? Pa. Xuan clapped and praised. Good man. You sure have improved after sticking with me for so long. We might be demonic cultivators, but this fight was fought for justice. Sect leader Xian, make sure you write down your endless greed, trying to extort me out of my 2,000 sacred stones, and also wanting to suck women's in to cure your son. It seems that in this battle, we took heaven's place in purging the demons and setting an example for everyone. What? Sect leader Xian's face twitched and cried out. You, demonic cultivators, dare use heaven as your excuse? I told you to write, not yap. Xuan's face expression steeled. He stepped on Shaoyu's leg. Life or death, choose. Sect leader Xian's fists shook and sighed. Writing down as he said it, this was no longer just a scuffle between sects, but a question of mystical heaven sect's morals. A righteous sect actually wanted to use women's in to cure someone and even tried stealing another sect disciple's sacred stones, although sect leader Xian did not want to admit it. Xuan truly did purge demons in this case. Once he handed this to the demon scheming sect, it was the same as handing blackmail evidence for them to threaten him with. They would not only be left with no means of rebuking them, but even obeying them, or when the jade slip got out, the mystical heaven sect would never rise again. If it had happened in peace times, sect leader Xian wouldn't have done it, even killed. But his son was in their hands, and he had no choice but to fold. The future looked bleak, with generations being threatened by the demon scheming sect. He truly suffered more than he could have imagined this time. Seeing this, Venerable Qi patted Qilin's shoulder, disciple, you've grown. Ha ha ha. It's all thanks to Master and Steward Zhua's teachings. Qilin bowed, humbled, the others laughed, only the girls rolled their eyes and shook their heads. They're all evil demonic cultivators who only got worse with Xuan around. Chapter 756, Burden. Chapter 756, Burden. Proofreader, Papatonks. Who? Letting out a long sigh, Sect leader Qilin finished filling self-incriminating facts into the jade slip and slumped powerlessly to the ground. The jade slip, falling at his side, Xuan flicked and the jade slip went to his palm. Nodding after checking the content, the battle now took a righteous tone and the enemy was vanquished in heart as well. There was no need to fear Double Dragon Manor any longer, Dad, knowing what just happened. Shaoyu's face fell. Sect leader Qilin showed a smile. Then he looked hard at Xuan. Xuan, are we done here? Ha ha ha, of course, thanks, Sect leader Qilin. Xuan nodded, then showed bloodthirst. Men, kill half of Mystical Heaven Sect disciples. Yes. The crowd shouted together and bowed. Xuan was gone as well, appearing next to Shaoyu. In his eyes filled with fear was reflected the hand that clutched his throat. Shaoyu's face went red, unable to breathe. He flailed his arms against Xuan, despite how pointless it was. He was nothing more than a weak little chick. Sect leader Qilin shouted, Xuan, what are you doing? Didn't we say? Humph, ever heard of the saying, don't trust a demonic cultivator? Xuan mocked, you always curse demonic cultivators for being vile and fiends you can't trust. But at the end of it all, you still talk terms with us. Isn't that a cruel irony? The demon-scheming Sect team laughed. Sect leader Qilin shook, and the moment he moved from his spot, he coughed blood, then slumped back down. He could only watch as Xuan squeezed the life out of his son. Xuan had a vile smile on his face. Sect leader Qilin, I never do business without assurance, much less suffering from one. In our fight with Mystical Heaven Sect, we have lost many people. So, to make sure you don't come making trouble, ha ha ha, sorry, but I'll have to cripple you. But don't worry, seeing as how it involves Double Dragon Manor, I won't destroy you, nor harm you, Sect leader Qilin. It would make the jade slip useless if I do, ha ha ha. With a cackle, Xuan showed his evil side. Increasing his grip on Shaoyu, Sect leader Qilin shook and spoke rashly. Wait, Xuan, you can kill anyone and I won't care, but please let my son go. He's my only. And you call yourself a Sect leader? You only ever cared about your son and not the Sect. Everyone looked at him with scorn. Han Qianying sighed and walked to Chu Qingcheng, junior sister. Your man is amazing. Even the Sect leader is being toyed with. But this is a bit too cruel. After all, Mystical Heaven Sect has once been our home. We have many brothers and sisters here. Han Qianying did not finish, but her meaning was loud and clear. For Chu Qingcheng to plead for them, every king rose to his throne by trampling on a mountain of corpses. Chu Qingcheng sighed as she hesitated. She had once been the ruler of Drifting Flowers edifices and knew this cruelty. Being soft now would only come back as misery to bite you. Drifting Flowers edifices had suffered so much for so long, and she could understand Xuan in this. This man was not as cruel as he looked, but doing all for self-preservation. It was easy to speak for Mystical Heaven Sect, but she could not risk knowing it might bring Xuan pain later on. Even with the girls looking at her like that, she still held her ground. Chu Qingcheng. One aged voice sounded that stunned everyone. Sect leader Qilin looked from the ground at Chu Qingcheng with begging eyes. Qingcheng, when you wanted to save that girl's life, I helped you. The condition for that was to come to Mystical Heaven Sect and save my son. That was our deal. Because of you, Xuan came and ruined my sect. I'm not asking you to hold your end, but at least let my son live. What? Qingcheng knew everything. Shui Ruahua looked at her in shock. You mean you were ready to give yourself up? Yes, she knew everything, unlike you. Because she owed me, she would do anything I asked, Sect leader Qilin shouted. A bit of favor yet returning endless gratitude. Because you met him again, you chose to break your promise. I did not mind. You wanted to see him again afterward and made another promise which I agreed to. But now, I see the last agreement won't be fulfilled. I give you back your freedom and only hope you can stay Xuan's hand. Leave. Crash. Sect leader Qilin did not finish. Chu Qingcheng did not speak either. Then they heard Shaoyu crashing to the ground. Coughing in pain, Xuan released him with a calm face, then ignored the father and son, walking to Qilin. He took her shoulder and left while shouting, "Demon scheming sect, withdraw." Aren't we killing mystical heaven sects, men? There's still 100 ethereal stage experts breathing. Once they recover, Xinggang started, but Xuan only held Qilin as he said, "I said withdraw. This fight is over." The demon scheming sect team looked at him oddly, then shrugged as they followed Xuan, leaving Master. "Look after yourself. I'm going with Qilin." Han Qinying took Shui Ruahua and Danner after saying her last words to Sect Leader Xian. Sect Leader Xian shook. His face dark, only Shaoyu was still coughing. Looking at Xuan going away, and spoke with vitriol, "Father, we must take Rev." "Shut it." Sect Leader Xian grabbed his mouth and looked at Xuan in worry. Seeing as he did nothing, he relaxed, then cursed, "Are you suicidal? He didn't kill all of us because of Qilin. Junior sister Qingqing." Shaoyu frowned, gnashing his teeth. "I won't let that vile spawn take her. One day I will get her back." Sect Leader Xian gave him a long look, then nodded. With a steel gaze, he thought, "Don't worry, Shaoyu. The day will come. You still need her for your illness." Meanwhile, Xuan and Qilin walked out of Mystical Heaven Sect hand in hand. With a faint smile, the two were in their own world as a group of third wheels approached Qilin, worried. "Is it really all right to let them go? Maybe they'll harm you later." "Yeah, Steward Xua, I think it's best we finish them off. Just like you said, the central area is attacking and Double Dragon Manor won't." "You're wrong," Xinggang approached to say, but Xuan mocked. "Did you also believe my bluff back then? Central area's matter is only a rumor. Who knows if it's true? I only used it to scare him. If the central area remains quiet, the Double Dragon Manor won't leave this matter be. That's why we can't ignore Double Dragon Manor's rules and give us more trouble." Xinggang nodded, then Xuan spoke heavily. "Qingqing, Mystical Heaven Sect had given us a favor back then. I will help, take the burden on myself, since what happened to Ninger was your problem is my problem." Qilin was direct. Xuan nodded and smiled. "Yes, your problems are my problems. Since this binds you to Mystical Heaven Sect, I'll help you break it and not affect your heart." "But then I'm a demonic cultivator. Carrying all that hatred is nothing." Xuan smiled at her and looked her in the eye with conviction. "With me next to you, no one will force you again." Qilin started and nodded in happiness. She rested her head on his shoulder. Her heart at peace, she felt like she was back to Drifting Flower City's shabby house, with only the two of them around. Chapter 757. Killing Shaoyu. Chapter 757. Killing Shaoyu. Proofreader. Papatonks. Shit. Their lovey-dovey display is so blinding it pales to my 24-karat eyes. Xinggang cried out and held his eyes. The others chuckled. Give the lovely couple a queer smile. Xuan just shrugged at Qilin. "Looks like we need to shake off these blind fools, or they'll ruin our mood." Qilin giggled, however. A shout was heard and a familiar figure came leading tens of thousands of worn-out soldiers. "Brother Xua, did we win?" Luo Yunhai asked in joy, sticking out his chest. Gu Santong spoke with pride. "Of course. When I go, nothing can stop me. The one to blame is my dad for letting me out so late, or I'd have long since wasted them." "Oh, so you did it. No wonder so many died in this fight, with thousands experts from my clan as well." Luo Yunhai broke into cold sweat as he watched Gu Santong's prideful face. "Young Sanzi truly is amazing. But maybe could you give us a signal the next time you fight?" Gu Santong was startled while the others shook their heads. This kid is that ignorant of his raw power? Give us a signal to get some cover. But seeing Gu Santong so oblivious, Luo Yunhai did not explain, lest he get the little ball of rage. "Angry big brother Xua?" Luo Yunhai turned to Xuan. "Although we didn't need to attack the treasury, since it fell under young Sanzi's move and we had no chance to use the resources, we still managed to get some spoils of war and got to rob it." Demon scheming sect's hearts twitched. The Mystical Heaven Sect has been around for millennia. Their treasury must be loaded. They won the battle but were so focused on the joy that they forgot something so basic. How stupid of us. So Fiend Yang was the first to jump in. Oh, clan head of the secular world, we're all allies here. We should settle the accounts, since we did so much hard work ourselves. We should get the biggest share. Ha ha, relax. We only came to help Brother Zhua. All of it will be yours. Luo Yunhai waved his hands like it was nothing. Fiend Yang raised an eyebrow and nodded. This kid is upright and good. What kind of ally doesn't want to be paid after being asked for help? The other elders were also admiring him. Zhua Fan, who would fight for every stone, shook his head. Yunhai, I'll make it up for Luo clan for their help. Brother Zhua, we're all a family. We'll make it up to us. Luo Yunhai waved his hand, glancing at Chu Qingcheng. Brother Zhua, we did find something in the treasury you might want to see. Zhua Fan raised an eyebrow. What? Luo Yunhai gave Qiu Yunhai a look, and he presented a ring. Zhua Fan received it and took out its items. It had 3 jade slips. Zhua Fan looked over the first and was stunned. Heavenly Cycle Dragon Array? Yes, it's the one the Heavenly Cycle Elders used. Luo Yunhai spoke. Keep reading. Zhua Fan took the second one with doubt. 4-element cycle array? Yes, the array from which the Heavenly Cycle Dragon Array was developed. Qiu Yunhai spoke carefully. Steward Zhua, check the last one. Zhua Fan gave the 2 a long look, then scanned the 3rd jade slip. Only this time. His eyes exploded white bloodlust. The crowd looked puzzled. Not far. Sect leader Xian held his son up and gave him a recovery pill. His eyes flashed. Shaoyu, don't worry. I'll surely get Chu Qingcheng back. Whoosh. However, he did not finish as a black figure appeared in front and punched him. Rumble. Sect leader Xian and Xian Shaoyu had no time to react. Xian Shaoyu was reduced to pieces and blood as he splattered on the rubble with the blood and gore dripping from sect leader Xian's face. He was still too stunned to register it as he looked at the hard and cold face of Zhua Fan. Why you? Sect leader Xian's eyes were filled with tears. Choked with emotion to speak, Zhua Fan gave him an icy look. Sect leader Xian, thank you for your help with Ninger. By letting Mystical Heaven's sect go, all accounts are settled. Zhua Fan left with a dead face, walking to Chu Qingcheng and the others. Sect leader Xian's white hair was a mess. His eyes lost. He did not know why he thanked him for saving the girl, nor why he came back to kill his only son. Seeing the blood around, Sect leader Xian crumbled to his knees and howled in pain and sorrow. Zhua Fan was back among his people, who were curious about why he first let Xian Shaoyu go only to kill him. Now only Luo Yunhai and his men knew. Yunhai, destroy it. I don't want anyone to see it. Zhua Fan spoke. Luo Yunhai nodded, letting out a relieved chuckle. Zhua Fan came to Chu Qingcheng and held her waist as they walked. She just looked at Luo Yunhai curiously. What's that? Nothing of importance. Zhua Fan shook his head. Qingcheng, you have your own principles that I will protect, taking on me all the sins and crimes. But, Zhua Fan gnashed his teeth, if you are in danger, no matter the principle, even my path, I'll cross them all. Chu Qingcheng gave him a long look and smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder in happiness. I don't want you to give up everything for me. I only want to help you achieve your ambition. Seeing them go, the others looked at Luo Yunhai. Fiend Yang was smiling from ear to ear. Luo clan head, what was that? Nothing you should know about. Luo Yunhai spoke in a hard tone. Brother Zhua wants this destroyed so no one can see it. Or the ending of Mystical Heaven Sect's young master. Ugh. They all shook and coughed, looking at Zhua Fan. Since it was so dangerous, they could stall their curiosity. It was much better to live once all were gone. Luo Yunhai looked at the 3rd jade slip. He let out a long breath and shook his head. Empty spirit body, the desire of every cultivator. It can even help gods, but look what disaster it brought. But one thing is certain, the Heavenly Cycle Elders sure were geniuses to come up with such an array. With a smile, Qiu Yunhai sighed, from Heavenly Cycle Dragon Array to 4-element Cycle Array, to come up with ha ha ha. I bet it was made to fit the young sect leader like a glove. Nodding, Luo Yunhai sighed. Yeah, why else would Brother Zhua go back on his words and kill the one he just spared? As long as he's around, the Mystical Heaven Sect would never let go of Sister Qingcheng, the best cauldron. But even so, there may be one coming later on who would want her. Qiu Yunhai's eyes shone. Luo Yunhai nodded. That's why Brother Zhua wanted it destroyed. This is an array to exchange a life for a life. Qiu Yunhai gave a heavy nod. then had the 3 jade slip hold in his hand and used his power. Hot energy was released. If you just crush them, someone dead set on it might recover them. Allow me to destroy them. However, a beautiful figure appeared. Wait, Sister Qingcheng. Miss Qingcheng. The two looked shocked. What are you doing here? Chapter 758. Countering Demon Scheming Sect. Chapter 758. Countering Demon Scheming Sect. Proofreader. Papatonks. Half an hour later, Xuan unsealed Han Qianying and Shui Ruawa's cultivations. The two quickly opened the sect array, and the demon scheming sect with the Luo clan left after taking care of their wounded and burying their dead. Even after everyone left, Xuan stayed behind. He had unsealed Chu Qingqing's cultivation a while back, and yet she immediately went away saying she had something to do. Now he was waiting for her whoosh. Chu Qingqing's amazing figure came back before Xuan with a smile. I'm back. That's good. Let's go as well. Xuan nodded and held her hand tightly. Chu Qingqing was startled. Aren't you going to ask me where I was? Ha ha ha, no matter where you go, as long as it's not dangerous, I won't ask and I'd even let you go. Xuan chuckled. You're my wife, not an underling, nor a prisoner. You have your own freedom. Chu Qingqing beamed with joy. We truly know each other best. He knows me and I know him. They also did not want all their affairs to be known either, to feel like they were being watched. So Chu Qingqing did not ask about Xuan's matter, and he didn't ask about hers either. This was mutual respect, however. The two silent agreement hadn't lasted 3 steps, as Xuan said with a frown, Qingqing, just where did you go? Chu Qingqing rolled her eyes and giggled. Didn't you say you won't ask? Why are you going back on your word? Ha ha ha, sorry. I know that I shouldn't restrain you, but I can't help but know everything about you, down to the last detail. This is such a complicated feeling. Xuan shook his head. It's my first time feeling like this and I don't understand. It feels so impulsive. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. I respect your wish. However, Chu Qingqing stopped him and flashed the thunder ring on her finger in front of him. I went back for this. After Mystical Heaven's Sect trapped me, they even took my storage ring. I went after it. I see. So it was nothing. Ha ha, Xuan nodded. Chu Qingqing glared. What, nothing? This ring comes as a pair, a proof of our relationship. How is it nothing? Yeah, you're right. Ha ha, Xuan nodded, his heart warm and fuzzy. Despite being a thunder ring, this ring of his was also a sacred ring. Unlike the one she had, which was simple, even though he made it, Chu Qingqing cared for it because it represented their bond, which filled him with happiness. However, their little warm bubble was soon broken as Chu Qingqing recalled something and mocked. Oh, I was wrong. The ring isn't a pair since there's another one. Something similar is worn by Miss Luo. Well, Xuan was sweating. Chu Qingqing went on with a smile. These 3 rings will be together later on and we will live happily together. Qingqing, she isn't like that. She's just family, and the ring was already passed to Yunhai, the keepsake of Luo clan head. Oh, I see. Then Shuanger, Yongning, Lianer, Miss Shui. Xuan's mouth twitched. Qingqing, you're the leader of Drifting Flowers Edifices, a person of power. Yeah, but sometimes I'm impulsive too. I don't want to limit you. It's just that when Sister Peony sent me those sending jades containing strange information, my heart felt heavy. Batting her eyes, Chu Qingqing showed her mischievous side. Xuan's eyes shook, cursing Peony for being a busybody. Then he shook his head. Chu Qingqing's assault never relented as she kept asking awkward questions and putting Xuan on the spot. This was how they walked out of this place, hand in hand in this moment. The two were unlike the high cultivators they were, nor deep schemers, just a loving couple. They bicker, they nag, and they flirt. Seeing the two go, Luo Yunhai and Xiao Yunhai shared a pained look. Luo Yunhai sighed and said, Brother Xue asked us to destroy the jade slip before anyone saw it. But in the end, Sister Qingqing saw it too. What now? Clan head, it's all fine. Xiao Yunhai pondered. Steward wanted no one to set their eyes on Miss Chu. Now that the jade slip is destroyed, Miss Chu can't be hurting herself, right? It's fine. Thinking it over, Luo Yunhai nodded. I hope so. But Brother Xue's order was to not let anyone see it. Now that Sister Qingqing did. How do we tell him? Miss Chu said it herself, to just not include her. They're together anyway, so it won't matter. Ha ha. Chiu Yinhai scratched his head, clan head. I'm a knowledgeable old man and some things are better not taken so seriously. It's best to gloss over it. When you have a lady yourself, you'll know what it means to be love-struck. Giving the old man a long look, Luo Yunhai nodded. Since Sister Qingqing and Brother Zhua are family, it's fine if there are some things hidden from the husband or wife. The two then nodded, reaching a decision, and hurried to catch up, however, to Chu Qingqing. She had lied to Zhua Fan for the first time, and due to their trust, Zhua Fan did not suspect anything, but this, however, was foreordained to become Zhua Fan's biggest regret of his lives. After leaving, they rested for half a month 10 miles from Mystical Heaven Sect and continued onward. Zhua Fan had given Li Jingtian and the Elders pills and helped them recover faster. The demon scheming sect was jubilant in the meantime from the spoils of war they got after that big fight. The happiest was Kuei Gang. His darling son, Kuei Gang, was seeing his mother for the first time. He now knew that his father prepared this surprise for him. They hugged in tears and in joy, holding each other close. Venerable Qi was very much against Kuei Lang and the girl from the Mystical Heaven Sect getting together, but this time they seized Mystical Heaven Sect and cut their arrogance down to size. Not to mention they got a little something extra for their troubles. He didn't even mind seeing Zhua Fan happy with his lady. Moreover, since Steward Zhua managed to get a girl from a righteous sect to join him, his disciple couldn't? Maybe this victory would be enough to make sect leader overlook it anyway. The result was better than the fault, leaving room for discussion. And so, the whole group continued on. Zhua Fan did not separate from them and went back to the demon scheming sect with the Luo clan. They then arrived at the valley where the two teams met for the first time. Shuang'er and Yangning were anxiously waiting under Yuling and Qi Changlong's care. After all joined up, the girls were overjoyed to see Chu Qingqing was saved. The girls all gathered around and talked, being close sisters with Chu Qingqing. Chu Qingqing also joined the conversation with a smile, however. While they were still lost in their victory, Zhua Fan suddenly shouted, "Listen up, the fighting isn't over." They all turned to Zhua Fan with a puzzled look. What do you mean the fight isn't over? Isn't Mystical Heaven Sect ruined? First of all, I've been hiding something from all of you. Zhua Fan was dead serious as he pulled Chu Qingqing in front. I've attacked Mystical Heaven Sect for my personal reason, to save my wife. I thank you all for your help. Zhua Fan cupped his hands before them. The people were stunned, then laughed. Ha ha, Steward Zhua, we already figured it out. What's the big problem? Yeah, with your merit, fighting to get a woman won't make sect leaders say anything. Venerable by laughed. Zhua Fan shook his head and watched the crowd. This was what I wanted to tell you. Sect leader Xiaoyu doesn't know about our fight with Mystical Heaven Sect. It was all me. Ugh. They all stood dumbstruck, hardly believing Zhua Fan's words. Impersonating the sect leader was a serious offense. To even take all of the sect's experts and fight another, that was inexcusable. With Xiaoyu's temper, they could see how this wouldn't end well, and they shook all over seeing them react like that. Zhua Fan squinted. He spoke something that gave them the biggest shock of all. It almost blew their minds. That's why we are now going to counterattack the demon scheming sect and seize power. Proofreader note. Whoa, the author really planted several flags in this chapter. Chapter 759, Uprising. Chapter 759, Uprising. Proofreader, Papatonks. SSS. Gasping, everyone was floored by this shocking revelation. This is an uprising, plain and simple. First you want to beat one sect into the ground, and now coming back to beat your own. It was beyond what any of the demon scheming sect experts imagined. They went out of the sect only to come back as rebels. They were all demonic cultivators, sure, but their loyalties still laid with their sect. This was too much to take in. Even outsiders like Han Xinying were speechless at Zhua Fan's brazen declaration. She walked over to Chu Qingcheng and whispered, "Junior sister, your man is truly brutal. He doesn't just go against his sect. He wants all the other elders and venerables to be there with him. They must be regretting it now, for being toyed with by your man." Senior sister, Zhua Fan isn't after wealth and glory. He's only looking after himself. Chu Qingcheng sighed. Han Qinying nodded. Maybe, since impersonating the sect leader and giving orders to attack another sect deserves capital punishment. If he doesn't rise now, the demon-scheming sect would hunt him down forever. While everyone can see it, that doesn't mean everyone would be so decisive. He is a man that knows what to do. Unlike my Kue Lang, who likes to boast, he'll never do it in his life. Chu Qingsheng nodded. Looking at Zhuo Fan's straight figure and confidence, her eyes swam in love. Her husband was the boldest hero, doing everything without looking back. No matter what situation he was in, his eyes had always looked at things from a different perspective. Looking coldly at those shocked faces, Zhuo Fan spoke. Actually, I am all for a peaceful resolution and not revolting. You all know that I am about to leave the demon-scheming sect and don't care for wealth and glory. However, there's no way I'm going to let others take my life. This is as low as I'll ever go. The crowd looked at each other with confusion in their eyes, not knowing what to say. I know what you're thinking. To make me take all the blame. Zhuo Fan was quite calm despite having seen their intentions. I had thought about this as well. Everything that happened so far is because of me, so taking responsibility is only natural. If my life can save everyone, I'm willing to give it. But just think for a second. Will Xiaoyu let you go with his foul mood? They all shook at Zhuo Fan's words, their last hope crushed to pieces. Giving them a cold look, Zhuo Fan shouted, "Wake up! Stop resorting to petty tricks and dreaming for hopeless peace. Everyone knows of Xiaoyu's cruelty. Would he let you live after you used the sect's name to attack another sect's elders without his orders? This was a clear challenge to his authority. You of all people should know him better than me. But this isn't. Yes, I faked his orders." Someone stood up, pointing a feeble finger at Zhuo Fan, but he cut him off. "You must understand. What difference would it make when you'd be guilty by association? Why would the inner sect elders come along with me? Humph, as matters stand, Xiaoyu has already lost his trust in you. While he won't do anything to you for now, since the demon-scheming sect has 10,000 sacred stones, in 100 years, there would be plenty of homegrown elders and venerables to replace you along the way. You best not forget who you are, my labor office's elders. You have taken on my symbol for a long time now and can't escape this. The minute Xiaoyu labels me a traitor would be the moment you all will be taken care of. It's only a question of time. In the demon-scheming sect, it is the inner sect and Venerable Sure who have the true power. Working hard for so many years to seize power back, only to lose it all in the end. Would you be willing to accept that?" A shiver went through them all, hearing Zhuo Fan's passionate speech. They were now filled with regret and unwillingness. Venerable Bai stood up, holding out his hands. "Listen to me, friends. Steward Zhuo is right. While it does look like he set us up, we should not forget that it was also Steward Zhuo that helped us earn so much in the labor office. We and Steward Zhuo have been on the same side from the start. Returning to the sect now, if sect leader does not pursue this and will overlook it, then we won't have a civil war. But if he insists on holding Steward Zhuo accountable, then we will have to stand up. Steward Zhuo is our leader, and when he falls, we fall with him. If Steward Zhuo is gone, sect leader can finish us off whenever he wants to. We're nothing to him, and can't fight him either. That's why, labor office elders, we must assure that Steward Zhuo is alive and well." "Yes, Venerable Bai is right." Venerable Qi stood up as well. "We must not fall for sect leaders' delay tactics, because we have an overwhelming advantage. We've all seen the power the Luo clan displayed in the battle with the mystical heaven sect, especially Steward Zhuo's son. It can be said that at this moment, we hold the power. If sect leader won't give us a straight answer, it's time for a change in leadership. Being indecisive and stalling will only get us killed. Everyone here knows just how brutal sect leader can be." Hearts stirred with their speech, and the people nodded as a fire lit in their eyes, just like Venerable Qi said. With such power on their side, taking the sect was a done deal. But once the Luo clan left, they'd be nothing more than another neck on the chopping block. When Xiaoyu started hacking, this was not the time to dawdle. Seeing the looks they sported, filled with resolve, Venerable Qi looked from Steward Zhuo to the others. "Moreover, we've all seen the fight between sect leader Xian and Zhuo Fan. They were evenly matched. That is why it is my opinion that if Xiaoyu's tyranny comes to an end, Steward Zhuo would make a fine sect leader. Ha ha ha. Hail, sect leader Zhuo." All of them turned their heads and greeted as they got ready for an uprising. Just like in an imperial revolt, They called out their leader as the true Emperor Xuan raised an eyebrow and glanced at Venerable Qi. Xuan then laughed, holding his hand for silence. Hear my order. Get ready for counter-attacking demon-scheming sect. Yes, sir. They all cupped their hands, filled with battle spirit. The morale was actually higher than when they set out for Mystical Heaven sect. Because this was a civil war, they couldn't afford to lose. Fendyang held his head inside. Wu Yue, you brought it on yourself? Look what your constant criticism of them has brought. They are revolting, while you are still dreaming of being a top middle 3 sect. Just how am I supposed to help you? Fendyang shook his head, catching up with the others and in deep thought on how to solve this. Xuan and Xia Wuyue were good friends with the fiends, but now, who were they to side with? This was a true uprising against leadership to take the crown. Meanwhile, just outside the demon-scheming sect's barrier, the door was opened and Xia Wuyue waltzed in, beaming with joy. Unaware his sect leader seat was hanging by a thread. The sect leader is back. The sect leader is back. 2 children ran to the inner sect to report. Xia Wuyue walked on, smug and happy. It was obvious from a mile his trip outside was one filled with flattery directed at his rear. He barely took 2 steps before he frowned. He looked around puzzled. Why is the sect so quiet? Where is everyone? Sect leader. Shouts came, Venerable Shi leading 100 inner sect elders as they rushed over. They bowed at once. Sect leader, I'm ashamed for being so late in welcoming you. Ha ha ha. Xiaoyu looked at them in doubt. What's going on? Why just you guys? What about the rest? The elders, venerables, and even disciples. Where are they? Sect leader, didn't you tell Steward Zhua to take them out? They have yet to return. Venerable Shi faked. Xiaoyu was stunned. Xuan? Didn't he leave? Why is he back? Also, when did I tell him to take out the sect's elders? It wasn't your order, but he held your token. Playing his act till the end, Venerable Shi muttered confusedly. This is bad. Steward Zhua held your token and said that he wanted all the experts and disciples, even venerables, to follow him outside. I found it odd and came with my inner sect elders to stop him, but sect leader knows how labor office is his. One word from him, and they'll all follow. I don't know where they went. He can't be using them, can he? Venerable Shi glanced at Xia Wuyue's face and saw it dark and brooding. His fists clenched, his eyes shot with bloodthirst. It seems to me these tigers are about to claw each other. Ha ha ha. Chapter 760, A Mover and a Shaker. Chapter 760, A Mover and a Shaker. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. A huge crowd gathered outside the demon-scheming sect. It was Xuan and his army with Uprising the only thought on their minds. All had shed the hesitation from before. Now ready to kill, looking at the familiar barrier, Xuan grinned. Xia Wuyue. I'm no pawn you can use and then throw away. I didn't care about the demon-scheming sect before, but since you wanted a fight, I'll get you first and take the sect as well. This is about Qingcheng and my life. I'm not about to be soft with you. Xuan looked at Luo Yunhai. Yunhai, you with the clansmen and young Sanzi are to hold this place. If a battle strikes out, someone will be coming to let you in. Yes, Brother Zhua. Luo Yunhai cupped his hands. Young Sanzi also nodded and gave a thumbs up, slapping his chest. No worries, Dad. With me here. Just tell me where to stomp and it'll be flattened in no time. Young Master, this isn't Mystical Heaven sect. We still want to cultivate here later. Please go easy as much as possible. Ha ha ha. Venerable Qi sweated as he sighed. The others laughed while young Sanzi's insane power had him vexed. He was the best insurance they had. With the little freak around, their win was a given. Even if the inner sect had High Venerable to interfere, it wouldn't do a damn thing. Not since this young master finished off heavenly cycle elders like nothing. Xuan cleared his throat and shouted, Let's go. The world is about to change. Xuan took the first step forward, with Chu Qingqing at his side. The others followed right behind him, all ready to attack their own sect no matter how prepared one is. Being on guard around one's own men was hard. The barrier easily opened, letting these beasts waltz in like they owned the place. Suddenly, four figures flashed. The crowd was stunned to see the 4 scheming demons relax. They're with us. I had them watch the place for movements. Xuan had them take it easy and asked the pygmies, "Tell me, did Xiaoyu return?" Violent Demon nodded and cupped his hands. "Steward Xua, Sect leader, has been back for a month now. When he heard you took 2/3 of the Sect's power out, he blew his top. Lately, he took his anger on a dozen disciples, killing them where they stood." "Ha ha, I knew it. We'll be going all out, it seems." Xuan waved and walked on. What of Venerable Shi and his faction? Did some suspicious people or experts appear? Steward Xua, Venerable Shi's side has only been inciting discord. The 4 scheming demons walked with Xuan as they reported the others were stunned. Steward Xua was ready to rise from the start. He even had spies left behind. He truly is a wise man to think about rebelling even before he attacked Mystical Heaven Sect. Demon Scheming Sect will definitely go further with him than it ever could with Xiaoyu. While rebelling isn't exactly honorable, but we will now have an even better sect leader, worthy of past sect leader generations. Venerable Qi and Bai nodded, their hearts at peace with that excuse. Xuan's team arrived at the main hall. The huge crowd and their mighty aura diminished the grand main hall's vibe. It even made Xiaoyu frown inwardly with worry, forcing him to come out. Who dares show off before the sect leader's main hall? Xiaoyu came to the door and saw the army. Then he saw Xuan in front and squinted as he spat. "Xuan, you dare return?" Xuan raised an eyebrow. "And why not? I'm a demon scheming sect disciple. It is my home. It's normal to return home." "Humph, rotten traitor." Xiaoyu cursed. "You first fooled me when you left the sect so that when I went to discuss with the empires, you came soon after, impersonating me with my token, taking every expert of the labor office. You have undermined my authority. By demon scheming sect's rules, you are to be executed." Just then, Venerable Shi showed up at the most convenient moment with his inner sect contingency, standing behind Xiaoyu like old friends. Everyone found it odd, only Xuan snickering. "I knew it." Venerable Shi had been bored for so many days, waiting for this moment to act. Others might not know how this switch in allegiances worked, but Xuan did. As interests shifted, so did relations, from allies to enemies and vice versa. It was just like yin and yang. At the smallest change, yin could become yang and yang yin. Deficit could become profit and profit deficit when one least expected. Venerable Shi held control over the inner sect's profits, to the point Xiaoyu felt his hands were tied. So he had no choice but to bring an outsider to work with in turning all of Venerable Shi's profit into crumbs. This had forced Venerable Shi to step back, but in fact was waiting for the 2 allies' fame to come head-to-head. In other words, Xuan's fame was what got Xiaoyu to get him here, to stop the inner sect. But now, since the inner sect was out of the fight, Xiaoyu found that Xuan's name was threatening him, thus affecting his ambitions and making him change his stance, from ally to enemy. Only when the 2 tigers were facing off did Venerable Shi step in. He would side with one, and killing the other would be a cinch. Ruining their alliance was the best scheme ever. Even with the 2 knowing this, they had to face off in the end, all while Venerable Shi would stand at the sideline and reap the most from their ego clash. There was just one tiny detail Venerable Shi overlooked. Xuan was just as adept, if not more, in these tactics as well. At first, he tried to avoid conflict with Xiaoyu, his subdued attitude and downplay of his merits letting him to drop his guard. Since the kid would be gone, he had no reason to be anxious. Xuan did this because he had that intention as well, but also because he was weaker and had to look after himself. But then he learned of Chu Qingqing's predicament and Xuan had to interfere. So he became a mover and a shaker, using all his name to get everyone to go to war for him, and since this meant crossing the other, then he might as well go all out and counterattack the sect. After all, when one's strong enough, all the scheming wasn't worth a stone. This was what Venerable Shi had failed to see. Xuan had 2/3 of the demon scheming sect behind him, with the Luo clan and young Sanzi right at the gates. Even with Venerable Shi and Xiaoyu joining hands, they still couldn't touch him, though the 2 had yet to sense it. Xiaoyu flicked his hand, displaying his full authority as sect leader. "Men, take Xuan away." The silence was deafening. Xiaoyu's words echoed in everyone's ears, but no one paid them any heed. What was worse, they looked at him with scorn. Xiaoyu looked hard at them and cursed. "What do you think you're doing? Did you not hear my orders?" "Ha ha ha, relax, sect leader. With how close the labor office's elders are to Steward Xua, they couldn't possibly do it. Then I will just have to do it myself, for sect leader. Even though Venerable Shi was ignorant, he did not forget to paint the labor office in a bad light, saying that they were on Xua Fan's side and not Xiaoyu's trusted aides, but even he wouldn't believe that his assumption was right on the money. This thought never crossed his mind. Venerable Shi waved. Men, take Xua Fan, this sect leader impersonator. Yes, sir. Two elders behind him bowed and snickered. They moved towards Xua Fan with Venerable Shi watching from behind in glee. This way he would use Xiaoyu to strike Xua Fan, his trusted aide, and at those old fools in the labor office. However, the two had yet to reach Xua Fan as bloodlust exploded from behind him. It forced the two to halt. The smug Venerable Shi was shocked. Looking at the scene in disbelief, he could see that everyone behind Xua Fan was filled with zeal and intent to fight. Don't tell me these guys are in cahoots with Xua Fan? Venerable Shi finally knew the situation was worse than he thought, and sweat started trickling down his spine. Chapter 761, Elder Yuan. Chapter 761, Elder Yuan. Proofreader, Papatonks. Crap, I underestimated this kid. Venerable Shi's eyes widened, his face growing darker as his heart beat like crazy in his chest. The stone-cold look he got was enough to make him break out in sweat. The original plan was to use Xiaoyu in getting rid of Xua Fan in the most open fashion and curb the labor office's growth. How was he to know Xua Fan was so resolute and cruel in rebelling? What made it worse was he got so many elders on his side as well. In that very moment, it dawned on him that Xiaoyu's name as sect leader rang hollow. As he stood there next to this mighty sect leader, it didn't seem to offer as much support as he thought. On the contrary, the danger only increased, becoming just another target for the enemy to erase. It was anything but what he planned, losing instead of gaining anything. Xua Fan works too damn fast. Venerable Shi gnashed his teeth, his heart filled with hatred. Why on earth didn't I act sooner? Letting him use the token instead to take the elders away for his own selfish reason. This way, at least there would not be any serious consequences. Going against the labor office's elders' theatrics wouldn't affect him much, but at the very least it would not give the enemy the initiative. Now though, the kid and the oldies were in tandem. They're strong and I'm weak. Getting rid of him is impossible, while my side is in serious danger of being terminated. The thought alone made Venerable Shi sweat buckets and filled him with denial to go down like this. Before his plan even got to be used, it was already scrapped. He'd been patiently waiting all this time, only to find out his efforts helped the enemy instead. However, just then, as the two sides stared each other down and were on the brink of war, someone shouted, "Wait!" They all turned to see Fiend Yang wobble as he rushed over between them with a bright smile at Xiaoyu. Fiend Yang, what are you doing? Even you want to defy my order? Because his authority had been undermined and he was now too enraged, all Xiaoyu wanted right now was to get rid of Xua Fan. This had made him blind to the situation as he shouted. Fiend Yang sighed on the inside, giving Xiaoyu a helpless look, but forced a smile. Wuyue, this is your fault. Xua Fan had taken us, but did not do anything to shame the sect. He had instead increased it through his commendable results. As a sect leader, you should reward him, not punish him. Commendable? For what exactly? Xiaoyu was confused. Fiend Yang snickered as he stuck out his chin, laughing. What, you ask? Ha ha ha, brothers, please report to sect leader our great success. Let him bask in the glory. Everyone just watched this smug Fiend Yang without uttering a word. All here, besides Xiaoyu, who was too pissed off to read more into it, noticed something in his tone and words. He said it to smooth things over and get over this problem without bloodshed. Fiend Yang had others give sect leader a report to show respect to Xiaoyu and his status. I'm not here for your chair, and you won't kill me. Everyone's happy. Alas, their stance as rebels was already established. Could mere words write it off? Even if that happened, no matter how unlikely, it all came down to the boss. So everyone turned their eyes on Xua Fan, awaiting his signal. But seeing how he was the center of it all, Xiaoyu's rage only increased, wanting nothing more than to break him to pieces. Demon scheming sect leader is me, Xiaoyu. Now you ask Xua Fan's permission to report to me? What does that make me? Maybe anger was consuming him, making the shrewd Xiaoyu unable to think about anything else. These elders had long since stopped caring about him. He was no longer their sect leader. Everything that they had and were in this moment was because of Xuan. Venerable Bai. Report to sect leader. Grumbling inside, he saw Fiend Yang's pleading look and Xuan sighed. Deciding to give Xiaoyu one last chance, he only ever wanted to leave with Chu Qingqing. If not for his life being threatened, he would not even think about taking on the burdens of a sect leader. It would be great if words could smooth things over. Hearing Xuan, Fiend Yang was ecstatic. Venerable Bai looked long at Xuan then nodded, speaking to Xiaoyu in a cold tone. Steward had taken us to sweep clean mystical heaven sect. We achieved a sound victory and glory, one unheard of since the founding of the sect. Of unprecedented and... What? You actually took the sect's experts to wage war on another sect without permission? Xiaoyu cut Venerable Bai off, roaring. Who the hell do you think you are to make such a judgment without any right? Men, take this traitor away. For his heinous crimes, he's to be executed. Fiend Yang started and rushed to take something out. Several high-grade spiritual gear. Wiyue, listen to me. These are just a few of the spoils we got. We robbed the mystical heaven sect's treasury clean. Defeated them. Get lost. Xiaoyu was too far gone in his anger. His eyes were red, looking at Xuan with vitriol, for overstepping his place and undermining my authority. Xuan's crimes are inexcusable. He will be executed, and any that tries to plead for him will join him in death. Xiaoyu's roar was heard by all. Fiend Yang gave him a long look, but side Fiend Yin and Fiend Gue were sad. Xiaoyu, can't you see that all that Fiend Yang did was for you and not Xuan? Xuan now has real power behind him. Why can't you see that? Sigh. Greed has got to him and made him lose sight of reality. Venerable Shi shook his head. Now that Xiaoyu has given into anger and lost his senses, he's unable to see that the sect is no longer his. With his old power as sect leader, he could put down any elder whenever he wanted. But now, he no longer had the people's support to do that. Taking his side now is plain suicide. Venerable Shi stepped back as he thought, glancing at the incensed Xiaoyu. Xuan turned his eyes to the side. Venerable Bai, are you sure you didn't say it like that to drive him even more mad? You didn't even address him as sect leader. Haha, Steward saw through me. But once this starts, it has to be followed through to the end. There are no half measures here. For when you, sir, and Lady Chu leave, old guys like us will be left behind to suffer Xiaoyu's wrath. Venerable Bai bowed to Xuan. We all see Steward to be far more suited as sect leader than Xiaoyu. Your merits pave your glorious future. Please, Steward do not decline. Xuan gave him a hard look and nodded. Then attack? Men, take Xiaoyu away. Venerable Bai's eyes glinted in joy as he shouted. The other elders and venerables were filled with fighting spirit as they shot for Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu was rooted to the spot in shock. Come again? Why are they attacking me? Are they rebelling? Only now did he begin to notice that his enemy was not Xuan alone, but all these elders who had a change of heart. Venerable Shi, what do we do? Seeing the enemy coming with savagery, one inner elder deferred to Venerable Shi. Venerable Shi was resolute. When trouble is too much, escape. He was the first to bolt, with the other inner experts not far behind. Ignoring the chaos about to erupt and getting some distance from it all, only the lone and has-been sect leader remained, who would soon be taken in by the labor office's experts having defected from his cause. Fiend Yang slumped to the ground. Wiyue, your brother has even given you the chance to resolve this, but you're too stubborn. Now that there are no holds barred, I can't save you. You're on your own. Just as they were about to clash, a blue light covered everyone. They all started shouting, "This is Vicissitude Domain. Impermanence 5. An aged voice echoed out, "Stop this instant." Shaking, they turned around to see a weary figure making his way towards them with a hard look. Elder Yuan? Xuan muttered. Venerable Shi frowned. Who is he? I've never seen him before. Venerable Shi, he is the labor office's executive. He's always been behind Xuan, using his fame to lord over others. One inner disciple reported. The inner elder then flashed in Elder Yuan's face. You old laborer, since when you could just interfere in sect matters? Get lost. Ha ha ha, I don't want to interfere, but one should look after himself. Maybe in a few days, using revenge for the sect leader and rebuilding the sect, you'd bring outsiders in, dooming it instead. I'd like to live here for many more years. So I have to interfere. Elder Yuan spoke in a condescending tone. The elder's face flushed red after Elder Yuan exposed their plan. He roared in anger. This is between the experts of the sect, not some wretched old coot. He then raised his palm for an attack. It was backed by the power of a third-layer ethereal stage cultivation. Elder Yuan would be reduced to mush as a bone-tempering cultivator. That was if he was so weak. Chapter 762. High Venerable Yuan Xinggang. Chapter 762. High Venerable Yuan Xinggang. Proofreader. Papatonks. Who? Biting winds came upon Elder Yuan's frail body, fluttering his beard. Even so, he just stood there with an indifferent gaze. It was as if he was not attacked by an ethereal stage expert, but by a breeze. Venerable Sure squinted, watching filled with suspicion. Since Elder Yuan faced the ethereal stage expert with such poise, Venerable Sure could tell he wasn't average. The odd thing was, when did the sect have someone like him? Xuan watched with no intent of helping. He knew Elder Yuan was something else, maybe one that could hold down all of Demon Scheming Sect. He was about to kill off the Demon Scheming Sect's leader, thus forcing Elder Yuan to come out. Rather than ignore him for later, it was better to face this trouble. Humph. A lowly laborer should stick to his duty and not meddle in others' affairs. The savage palm reached Elder Yuan as the elder mocked. The last time I asked you for a few laborers for my training, you came up with all sorts of excuses and even put the labor office venerables on me. Filthy parasite, using others' power, you should stick to your errands. Now no one can save you. Ha ha ha. The people figured it out. This elder had some bad blood with Elder Yuan. No wonder he would lower himself to kill someone so weak. Since the labor office gained power, he couldn't touch him. Now that the inner sect oldies saw sect leader about to lose, they decided to flee. Yet this old thing came out and exposed their nasty plans. Elder Yuan was respected because of Xuan, when the labor office's elders never actually gave him a second thought. Since Xuan now stood still while he was in danger, the others of course would not interfere either. The elder saw this and grew more rampant. Elder Yuan simply chuckled despite it all. Funny you should mention duty. With the sect on the brink of civil war, you don't care about settling the party's clashes, but pursue your vendetta. Is this how you plan on carrying out your duties when you seize power? Ha ha ha, never mind. My sect does not need an elder like you. Elder Yuan's eyes widened. Bam. With a thunderous sound, the elder found himself flying, losing his life before he hit the ground. Plop. He showed no wound as he landed, nor was there blood spilled. He died as if from natural causes. The only way for that to happen was through one means only: soul impact. Venerable Sure's eyes shook, his face a mask of shock as he watched Elder Yuan and stammered, "Who the hell are you?" "SSS." The others gasped, looking at Elder Yuan with unprecedented amazement. Soul impact was a perk all ethereal stage cultivators had. It meant using one's soul power to destroy the other's spirit and soul. But this usually only worked against cultivators below the ethereal stage. Using it in the same stage, since both had formed their souls, would never actually kill the other, at most just heavily injure him. Yet now, an ethereal stage expert died from a soul impact before everyone. The fact the other did not reveal his soul to do that only proved how huge the gap in. None thought this unknown elder would be such a great expert. Stronger than most people here. Even Xuan's eyelid shook, sweat gathering on his brow. Venerable Qi, get ready to have young Sanzi come in. Unsure yet on what stance Elder Yuan took, Xuan would rather play it safe and call for young Sanzi. Venerable Qi nodded, feeling the same way. He sent some elders' messages to open the barrier. Tap. Elder Yuan took casual steps under the eyes of everyone. Now no one looked at him with scorn, but fear. Finally, Elder Yuan arrived between the two sides. Shaoyu eyed Elder Yuan, then bent his waist in greeting. "High Venerable." "He's the High Venerable?" Venerable Sure and his party shook and stared at Elder Yuan. No wonder. Only the rumored High Venerable could display such power. I should have known. Xuan's eyelid twitched. Although shocked, He had his guesses. The rest of the crowd stood speechless at Elder Yuan's casual demeanor. They were just dumbstruck. Demon Scheming Sect's best expert, the rumored High Venerable, was revealed at last. Now that they knew this Venerable was Elder Yuan from the labor office, the shock doubled. Yes, I'm Demon Scheming Sect's High Venerable, Yuan Xinggang. Seeing the dumb looks around, Elder Yuan shouted. Everyone bowed. Greetings, High Venerable. Not just the inner sect faction, but even the labor office elders. High Venerable, even rumored, was the basis of their pride, their confidence, because he was the strongest in the Demon Scheming Sect. Seeing him now, even rebels as they were, they still showed respect. Elder Yuan nodded. Labor office plans a rebellion while the inner sect elders want to run away, thus leaving sect leader all alone to be killed. Humph. How did Demon Scheming Sect become so chaotic and torn apart? High Venerable, Xuan is undermining my authority. He roused labor office's men to rebel. He must be executed for his crimes. Xiaoyu clenched his fist as he pointed at Xuan. Venerable Sure found that with the High Venerable here, the tables had turned and cupped his hands. High Venerable can see that we hold the sect's safety at heart. Please tell us what to do, High Venerable. In layman's terms, Xuan wants to rebel, so as a High Venerable, stomp him. With you on our side, we can do it. Once they're dead, Demon Scheming Sect will be ours again. Elder Yuan already knew their intent and smiled, then turned to Xuan. Elder Yuan, where do you stand? Xuan spoke before he could. If Sir sides with Xiaoyu and them, then our friendship is over. Cocky bastard. Everyone stood stunned. He truly is worthy to be our next sect leader. Facing the sect's best expert, he uses such blunt words. Though they all knew that Xuan talked big like this was because he had a backup, his monstrous son. Not even High Venerable can take a hit from that brat. They held High Venerable in respect, but they weren't blinded by it. Clear of his strength and theirs, it was something Venerable Sure's side had no clue about. Still sneering at them, Xuan, you dare think with higher numbers you can take the seat of sect leader? What do you take High Venerable for? He would not let your impudent act go unpunished. Shut your mouth. I speak for myself, not you. Elder Yuan glared at him. Venerable Sure, you've caused a lot of disturbances over the years. Wait there in silence. Ugh. Startled, Venerable Sure's fiery passion was snuffed out by Elder Yuan being a wet blanket. He lowered his head and withdrew, his heart filled with anger. Damn old coot. I'm not the rebel here. What are you doing coming at me for? Ignoring his displeasure, Elder Yuan turned to Xuan with a smile. Steward Xua, we're both friends here. For God's sake, I was the one who told you to get that wife of yours. What? Now you're going to burn bridges? Xuan faltered at the sudden casual attitude the great High Venerable still took. Being ridiculed like that, Xuan blushed in embarrassment. Despite that, he felt happy inside at the very least. Even as the High Venerable, this old man was the same as ever. The Elder Yuan he expounded on Tao with for all these years. Now, let's talk. It's not something that can't be resolved with words. There's no need to always go around fighting and killing. Demon Scheming Sect didn't hold your woman either. Come with me. Smiling, Elder Yuan walked towards the main hall, then stopped as he pointed at Chu Qingqing and Xiaoyu. You two as well, come along. Since it involves 3 people, only you 3 can solve this. High Venerable then entered the main hall.